We're punching some buttons. We have Trisha Everding here as well because one of the things that I wanted to do. Hi, Trisha. How are you? She basically runs this station, and she is the point person for all our fish fries. So what we want to do, we got a lot going on today, like a lot going on. We're going to cover it all here in the next 3 hours. But let's start by looking back at our past Fridays because we've done this now. Was this the fourth year?
I think
keeping track.
Fourth or fifth.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah, we're pretty far into this thing.
But they were all great, and, we really closed strong on Friday, I think, at OTS. We had a great turnout for people who showed up in the 3 o'clock hour to watch the roundtable. And by the way, it wasn't just people in the Millsot area. We heard from people who drove from Fenton and one guy who drove from Southern Illinois.
Steelville, Illinois.
Right. Wow. So thanks to Terry Davenroy and the team there. By the way, I did have a smash burger when I got home, and my goodness, that was amazing. I had some fish as well. They took great care of us. But, Tricia, thank you because you did all the organizing, and this is never easy. We started off with Holy Trinity Serbian Orthodox, and Dave Lekic was one of our guys over there, so we appreciate that. Knights of Columbus in Cottleville. I know Jim Sorrell. I've known him for a while, but Kevin Luce is the guy that is our point person there, and he was great on the air. Then we get to Assumption Fred, and Mark Keniston was there, rocking it out, having a great time. Robbie Montz at St. Mary Magdalene. Eric Treplow at Queen of All Saints. Thank you for everything that you guys have done.
Yes.
And thanks to all the listeners who came and said hi and, took a picture and all those things because really that makes a big difference to us. I was really blown away by Friday in particular. It was a great way to close because there were a lot of fans there, so that was awesome. And Tricia, you helped put all this together. I know it's a bit of a headache. We have to also thank Apache Village RV Center because they made it all possible. So thank you, Apache Village
everyone.
as well.
Now I'm gonna go wash the tablecloth and the pop-up. It smells like fish, so I'll wash it. It'll be the one time a year we wash the promo gear.
I can't even imagine what they smell like. I mean, there's a couple where you just come out of there and then my car smells the next morning, but it's all well worth it. There's no doubt about that.
Hey, Mark, I'm impressed that you knew the name of everyone that we interviewed.
Well, that was just by memory.
I figured you put that together, Fred.
No, I didn't.
Oh, wow.
He's a genius.
You don't think I did that by
Steel
memory?
trap.
You go, Mark.
No, Tricia wrote that out
Thank
for me.
you,
I sent her an
Tricia.
email
Of course.
Friday night. I said, hey, I want to make sure that we thank everyone for and then Brian and Jim who did the engineering. Ethan kind of a little shaky back here in the studio, but outside of that, I think we did really, really well. Come on, man. You're standing right there by the microphone, so I have to say something to you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well.
Well, Ethan's going to work into the next part of the conversation because, and Trish, I think you would agree with this, this was an incredible sports weekend. And I talked about this a couple of weekends ago. And by the way, you don't have to sit here and listen to my
Right on.
monologue
I'm going
and
to
be
go out there
bored
and
or
listen to
anything.
this.
You should
Thank
do that.
you. Great
But thank
job.
you for doing everything. I don't want to make her feel obligated. She's like, oh, man, I got to hear his monologue now. I don't want to have to do that. But, a couple weeks ago when I think the conference tournaments ended and we were getting into the day after Selection Sunday, I think it was that Monday, I opened up the show and I said something along these lines. And I really mean it. And I don't know how people in their lives get the same sense of joy that some of us get from sports. And this was a perfect weekend to really kind of focus on that because not only did the Cardinals come back in their opening game, but they won a great game on Saturday as well. They gave up about 50 runs over the weekend, so we're not real crazy about the defense, and maybe some of the pitching is a little iffy right now, but it's the first 3 games. But really, really exciting baseball. Ethan, what can you say about that UConn-Duke game? Oh, my goodness. Now, Sue, were you watching that yesterday?
No, but I saw that I went up in my brackets from 37 to 34 out of 38, so that had to be good for the Huskies.
Look, I'm watching. I'm actually listening to some music yesterday, watching it in my office because it was a blowout in the first half. And I go upstairs, and we were thinking about dinner and stuff like that. And at a certain point, it's like looking a little competitive. They're down by 14, UConn by 12, by 10. Man, they're kind of making a little bit of a run here. But, in situations like that, you always think that Duke's going to win because that's what happens. Well, Ethan, can you kind of walk the audience through in case they didn't see what happened here? I mean, they had an inbound play, and they really didn't have to pass the ball again because they were going to be fouled. But Boozer tries to pass the ball, gets knocked down with just like 4 seconds left, and then UConn hits the game-winning shot, right? What did I miss there? Anything?
No, I mean, that pretty much summed it up. They didn't have to pass it. They did. It was tipped into the air. UConn recovered it, and there was no time to come up with a play or try to drive. He was standing at the logo, and he shot, and he sent UConn to the Final Four.
Oh, my God, listen to
Get
this.
it in. They do for Boozer. Bobbled it. Back for Sarr. Needs to get rid of it. Does for Caden. 7 seconds. Trying to throw it ahead. Deflected. Stolen by Connecticut. 2 seconds. It's Mullins up top for the win. Oh, he hit it.
This is the Duke call.
Tenths of a second to go. Malachi Smith ran off the bench. That should be a technical. But with 3/10 of a second to go, Connecticut has the lead, 73-72. As Connecticut got the 3 from Mullins after the turnover from Caden Boozer.
If you see the video, have you seen the video of Bill Raftery? And I think was Grant Smith on the call?
Grant Hill.
Grant Hill, I'm sorry. So Grant Hill is on the call. Well, former Dookie, right?
Yep.
So who's doing play-by-play? I can't remember.
Iron Eagle.
Iron Eagle's doing play-by-play. They have a video that they roll out today, and you can't really see Iron Eagle. You see Grant and you see Bill Raftery. And they look like they just witnessed a murder or something. the look on their faces, they're both speechless. They don't even know what to say because it all happened so quickly. And I'm going to tell you something. If you were anywhere in the vicinity of my house, and I would say that this was millions of houses, we were screaming inside the house. I'm like, I could not believe that happened. It was one of those, and that's what March Madness is all about. Really.
Someone put that video out on Twitter, and they had a great caption. It was like all caps. It said like they killed Bill or something like that. Bill was just frozen, shock.
Right?
And I mean, and we got a couple of onions calls in there. So because the shooter certainly has some big onions for that one. That was an unbelievable shot. And now they face the local team, Illinois, in the final.
And let me
Final
talk
Four.
about Illinois because I have some frustration, and congratulations to Illinois because I've said it the whole year. Look, I started talking about Illinois being a Final Four team in December before they played Mizzou because I had watched several of their games. And I'm such an idiot, which is stating the obvious, but I did not put any wagers on them. We have a small one at plus 180, but I could have got much better odds than that a few months ago. But really, really impressive. And, yeah, look, I think obviously Michigan's still probably, Michigan and Arizona, the winner of that game, maybe the favorite of the tournament. They both look really good, but you got to play the games, and you never know what's going to happen. We saw that this weekend.
Illinois
for sure.
wasn't expected to beat Houston, at least in my personal opinion, but they have dominated on the boards the last couple of games. So this is anyone's for the taking. All 4 of these teams could win it. I would agree that the favorite is probably whoever comes out on top of the Arizona versus Michigan game, but it would be cool to bring a national championship to Champaign, Illinois. It would be the first one.
How many of these guys, we got to do the math on this toward the end of the week, or even just from the weekend. How many of these kids are from Europe or elsewhere? Because there's a lot. There is a lot.
Illinois has quite a few.
Like 3 or 4.
Yeah, they have a couple of bitches. Yeah, the ones. A couple of standouts. I don't know the number, but the game is globalizing. I mean, if you go back to the 2024 Paris Olympics in the basketball, and that was as close as it gets, and it's going to continue to get closer. So the U.S., I'd still say, has a very slight advantage when it comes to international basketball, but that won't last long. I love it, and I had fun with it, but let's just be honest. It's like, it's like professional basketball. It's just collegiate professional basketball, but it was a lot of fun. And I'm going to point out 2 more things, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. But, when we left on Friday, Tiger Woods had this accident, and I don't really know how much has emerged over the weekend overall on that, but it's really, really disappointing. But there was a great story in professional golf, and I want to talk about 2 sports because I mentioned baseball and all the fun that was had there. And by the way, we'll get into this, Fred, with some of the calls that were overturned, the challenges, the ABS. That was interesting as well. But Gary Woodland is a guy that was a bigger name in the PGA probably circa 2016, 2017. He won the U.S. Open in 2019, and you haven't really heard from him very much since. He went to KU. For a couple years, he was like a big story. Well, he had a brain tumor, and he had to have an operation, and he suffers a lot of PTSD from all this. He had not won on the PGA Tour until yesterday, and he finished 5 strokes ahead of the leader. It really is an amazing comeback story.
Wow.
I'm going to spend a little bit more time on it with Dan Reardon because this is a guy who, and I have some audio of this, he'll tell you that walking inside the ropes, which is what the players do, was very stressful for him because of some of the things that were happening outside the ropes with the fans. Now, the fans were cheering for him, but it made him very anxious. And he has these issues that he suffers. And he admits that there was a stretch on Friday, and his rounds were incredible, but there was a stretch on Friday where he wasn't sure if he could even hit the golf ball. That's how extreme it was. So his comeback story is amazing. I know most people do not follow horse racing. I do. There were 2 Kentucky Derby prep races this weekend. One the Florida Derby, one the Arkansas Derby. Both of them finish in amazing fashion with both winners coming from dead last to first. Commandment wins the Florida Derby over the Puma in a photo. Brad Cox trained. The Arkansas Derby winner was Renegade, Todd Pletcher, who wins every Arkansas Derby. But it was one of those weekends, magically in sports, that, as someone who's a fan of all these things, I just couldn't believe. And, I say this because, and there has to be an answer to this, but where, maybe someone can help me, if you don't like sports, right, if you're not into this stuff, if you don't get your blood going, your adrenaline going, what gets your adrenaline going like that if you're not into sports? It's a serious question. I don't know what answers people would give. Sue, any thoughts there?
Let me think about that.
I got one.
All right.
QVC.
Oh, my gosh.
Locking down on a deal?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
I think people get a rush from getting a nice deal.
Well, that's
I
probably
think you're
true.
right
That's
about
a good
that.
one. No, I do think there's something
Yeah.
to that, but I don't know
Well,
what else would get someone to get off of the couch when they're watching a college basketball game and start stomping around the room nervous, and then all of a sudden just scream and yell with excitement, and that's part of what sports is about.
I think it, for a lot of people, it would be their kids' sports, but it's sports as well.
Oh, that could be.
Yeah, but I find that people that I don't know. There's just some people, and I get it. They're listening right now. They don't like sports. They're not into sports. They don't cover. I even mentioned this. When I used to ride a bike pretty seriously, a lot of the guys that I rode with were racers, right? And they were very serious cyclists. They didn't follow other sports. They just didn't.
I wonder.
They didn't even follow cycling. They
I
just
was going to
did their
say,
sport.
New Bike Day does that for me, but
Yeah.
that doesn't happen very often.
I wonder if there's a correlation between Karens out there and not liking sports because there isn't something else to put their attention on, so they're focused on what are other people doing and being nosy around people around them.
Psychologically, Ethan, there may be something to that. I can see that for sure. All right, we're off and running here. We have one of our faves to start the show, Cassie Smedile, former RNC press secretary, former Senator Talent's going to be here with the latest on the Iran situation. The other thing I didn't mention, and I'm exhausted. I can't even believe I got any sleep because I was fitting in all these sports, and I played pickleball on Saturday. But, man, I hit some No Kings rallies, and they were a lot of fun. I was carrying my signs, in the West End on Saturday. So there's this one viral tweet from someone named Yogi. I don't even know who this guy is. It's very long, and it has made its way virally over the platforms X and Facebook, and it's really good. I have some time a little bit later this hour to kind of run down some of the hypocrisy of the No Kings protesters that was highlighted in that particular tweet. We have Sue's News on a Monday. In the next hour, Cusumano is going to weigh in on all things sports. Josh Hammer after 5 o'clock, and then we're going to visit with our golf expert, Dan Reardon, no relation, on the the Gary Woodland story and Tiger Woods, and the Masters is coming up. Not this weekend, but the following weekend. Dan's going to cover it for the 39th time.
Wow.
He even told us a few weeks ago when he gets to 40 next year, they actually honor you at the Masters,
No
which
wonder
is
he
super
stuck
cool.
around. Remember a couple years ago
Yeah,
he thought
right.
that was it?
Yeah.
You're putting it together now?
I think that was some inspiration because he thought maybe that was going to be his last trip, and he's still doing it. So we got a lot to cover, plus a ton of great audio from the weekend as well. So it's all coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got some volume on westbound 370 due to road work as you approach 141. Westbound 70, we've got some. Well, there was an accident reported near 141, so a slow go behind that. And then to the west, it's not bad. Now, we've got eastbound 70 slowing at Forestell. We've got westbound 64, moderate volume at Clayton Skinker, Lindbergh out through 270, and again at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Now, southbound 270, there's a slow go. It's pockets, but it's Page down through Ladue Road, and then a little bit slow south of 44. Westbound 44, there's an accident reported at 270, and 55 already slow south of Arsenal down through Bates. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Sue, people on the social media have so much fun. So there's one guy, again, a lot of these comes from, randos out there. Scott Swain said, I'm receiving reports this morning regarding 2 successful campaigns that occurred over the weekend. 1, no kings. As of this morning, there are still no kings in the United States of America. 2, No Dukes. As of this morning, there are no Dukes in the NCAA tournament. So people getting a little clever
pretty funny.
with that. Banner Construction is a great company that's been around here in St. Louis since 1993, knocking it out of the park for customers. If you're thinking about really anything, they do interior remodeling, outdoor living spaces. We'd like to talk about what they do as an exterior remodeler with James Hardy Fiber Cement Siding. It's a great, great product. They specialize it. They've specialized in it for decades now, and it's really a great premium product. And there's so many advantages to it here in St. Louis. They have different choices, too. You could have the Hardy Plank lap siding, which comes in certain finishes. There's the shingle siding, the panel vertical siding, the artisan collection, which is a little bit more luxurious. So there's different price points and, different things that you can add, even to highlight the siding itself. Like, for example, the Hardy trim boards add finishing touches for fascia and corners, and you can really, really get creative and make your home look special. They have weather barriers that provide additional protection from weather. The same product you are going to get in your home here in St. Louis, not exactly the same as in other climates around the country. That's how focused and specialized the Hardy board is. Banner Construction's at 314-569-1050. The website, bannerconstruction.com.
I met my wife in law school at the University of Florida. She was from upstate New York and I was from Kentucky. We met at a daily mass at St. Augustine's. She was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen in my life. After communion, I followed her out of the church and got her phone number. The rest is history. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Little did we know that one day we would have 4 children and the largest injury firm in the world. All 4 work in the business. It's a family business. Did I ever see this coming? Hell no. We just worked very hard and treated our clients like we would want to be treated, like family. It's a full-service injury firm, auto accidents, medical malpractice, workers' compensation, Social Security, and insurance disputes. We're open 24/7, 365 days a year. Visit forthepeople.com and we can get to work on your case. No recovery, no fee. Morgan & Morgan, for the people. Injured? Dial Pound Law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Game day comfort steps up to the plate Saturday, April 11th, when the Cardinals face the Boston Red Sox downtown. That night, fans can score a Cardinals dugout hoodie presented by Mercy, built for cool nights, late innings, and early season baseball. It's a classic, easy-to-wear layer you'll reach for all year long. Available in medium or extra large while supplies last. Don't miss this spring matchup. Get tickets and details at cardinals.com/promotions.
Every Sunday home game is a Kids Sunday at Busch Stadium. From Team Fred Birding games to a kid-friendly DJ, ice cream, and family-favorite activities. Sundays are built for young fans. Plus, select Sundays feature kids run the bases after the game. It's a day made for smiles, memories, and Cardinals baseball together. Make Sundays your family tradition at Busch Stadium. Tickets and details at cardinals.com/Kids Sunday.
Mark Reardon, Sue Thomas. This is the Mark Reardon Show.
Hey, that kid on that commercial was pretty good. I better watch out here. There's talent out there that's emerging, right?
Yeah, right
pretty
before our
fun.
ears.
It was a pretty good weekend. If you went to baseball this weekend, I know that they didn't win yesterday, but man, I don't think you can say you came away not entertained because they won an extra innings on Saturday.
Yeah,
Opening
that
day
was
fun.
fun.
So look, the Cardinals giving us something at least to kind of get excited about early here in the season, but it's a long season. There's no doubt about that. Cassie Smedile back with us this afternoon, former RNC press secretary. How are you, Cassie? Welcome back to the show. Hope all is well.
All is well. We just made it back from a little family spring break travel and didn't have to wait in hours of lines at the TSA. So that's a win these days.
Seems like that's, very focused on a few different airports. And we talked about this a lot last week, that other people, I had some family members that took spring break the week before, and they didn't have any problems at all. But, man, if you're going through Houston or one of these other big airports. The other thing I saw, and I didn't know this, I put this on my reading list for something maybe as Phil later today, but there's a few airports, and I think San Francisco is one of them. They actually contract out, so they don't hire TSA agents. They have other people who fill that role, and apparently that's been pretty efficient. Have you ever heard that?
Oh, yeah, you're stumbling on a niche area of interest and expertise, Mark. My dad, that was his career. At the end of his career was privatizing airport security, and Kansas City Airport was actually one of the model airports for it. Incredibly efficient. And oh, by the way, when you've got your elected officials who can't get anything done, your airport security is not interrupted. So yeah, it was a very popular model to the airports that have it. They've hung on to it for dear life, even when you've got big government who wants the TSA in there. And it's a really good model, and I absolutely agree with it being expanded.
Well, and Cassie's a Kansas City native, and I should have put that together because they did mention the Kansas City airport in that article that I saw. All right, so here's President Trump yesterday on Iran.
So we've had very good negotiations today with Iran, getting a lot of the things that they should have given us a long time ago. We'll see how it works out, but they're very good, moving along very nicely. They've destroyed a lot of additional targets today. The Navy's gone, the Air Force has gone.
So Carolyn had a briefing earlier. We don't know exactly what those talks might be evolving around. The White House says some key points. At the briefing, Carolyn made it clear, look, they said at the onset here 4 to 6 weeks. We're at the 4-week mark. So the military goals seemingly have been mostly achieved. But I think, and I have to mention this, Cassie, because I might be a little bit of an outlier here. I think we're in a little dangerous territory with this whole situation. And I hope they can wrap things up for the most part. Now we have talks about, group boots on the ground, not combat troops, but maybe some, American troops that might have to be there. So thoughts on how this is evolving with Iran right now?
Yeah, well, Caroline was really careful to say, I'm certainly not going to forecast anything here publicly in the briefing room, and giving the president the leverage that he wants and needs. The Pentagon, I should say, is giving the president the leverage he wants and needs to be able to negotiate effectively with Iran by showing, hey, we're happy to put this troop presence right there, ready to go, if you guys aren't willing to play ball. But he's got this sticky wicket of the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran knows it. That's the last thing. That's the last good card that they hold. And of course, that's causing a lot of consternation, not just gas prices back home, but just how our economy works. I was just talking with a friend with the farm economy, what it's meaning for fertilizer prices, all of these things that are causing stress not only on American workers and businesses, but Americans who are seeing the prices of things go up as a result. And we're giving the president some grace. If some short-term pain means long-term world peace, and that we don't have Iran as this persistent threat like they have been my entire life and then some, that's a good thing. We'll give him the grace he needs to do it. He's got the will and determination like no one before him has. So that's a good thing. But to your point, we're not willing to, and the president doesn't want us either, to have some sort of forever war, even a forever presence. And we need to see something happen pretty quick here. But I think Iran, they're running out of ammo.
Yeah,
they're running out of
seems
options.
that way.
They don't, right? So they're going to move. We know the president's a great deal maker in chief. And so I think hopefully he's got him right where he wants him. And I'm okay if he doesn't publicize his every move to us.
Yeah, no, and I am too. And look, I think he's earned I've admitted this to the audience. I get worried about some things, and then Trump proves me wrong, time and time again. So, there's a window here, and I think a lot of things that are happening are moving in the right direction. But, these are tough situations, and, I don't know how you have diplomatic talks with part of a regime. Maybe they want to stay alive, that is not to be trusted and has been trusted for 47 years. On the topic of more domestic politics, Cassie Smedile is here. Do you ever read these columns by, and I'm not even sure how to pronounce his last name, Rai Teixeira or Teixeira? He is a Democrat guy that...
That one's not familiar to me. Tell me more.
So I like him because he writes from a common sense perspective about the Democrats, and he kind of points out a lot of their flaws politically. So one of the things that he wrote about, and this was in the Free Press today, he writes, I think it's something called the Liberal Patriot. .com. And I've read his stuff over the years. And one of the points today in the Free Press is, Democrats feel really good about the midterms, but they've kind of forgotten about why they lost in 2024, and that huge problem still lingers. So a lot of us are talking about these risks to President Trump, the risks to Republicans moving forward. You mentioned the gas prices, the economy, all these things. People want lower prices. There's no doubt about that. But by the same token, you don't really see the Democrats evolving on some of these simple 90-10 issues, or as President Trump even said, 99 to 1% issue. I have this audio today now this is up in Canada, from a Democratic Party event up there where they're trying to get their order in place for their gender cards that they have to call. So, look, he points out the Democrats are still making a lot of mistakes. I think on this DHS stuff, that's not working in their favor right now, but it's hard to tell.
No, that's absolutely right. I saw a YouGov poll late last week that showed that while Democrats are still favored to win the midterms by 3 points, that is a slide from where they were just a month ago, where they were expected to win, I think, 6 or 8 points. And the difference is that more support has gone towards the Republicans. And I think it's exactly the point you're making, that when people look at their options, it's kind of this idea of, I hate all politicians, but I don't mind my politician. I hate all members of Congress, but I don't mind my member of Congress. Then in the aggregate, they look at the Democrat Party and they say, what are they doing? They haven't learned their lesson. The sound bites that I hear from them are not helpful and don't pertain to my family and me. But maybe, just maybe, their local congressman is someone who they like. And so that's what Republicans have to figure out, is how do you pin that national image of Democrats that is so wildly unpopular on the face of every candidate on every ballot.
Well, and to your point, look, the quality of the candidate matters also, whether it's the Democrat or the Republican. There was someone named Laura Egan who wrote this, and this was kind of featured in Rise column, saying, look, the shut up and pivot approach is not without merit, as proponents see it. People vote largely on economics. But she says the dismissiveness of cultural issues as not, quote, real issues that actually matter to voters and therefore not worthy of formulating an opinion on has left some party operatives on edge. They worry that by not engaging, Democrats will continue to be perceived as condescending and untrustworthy. They fundamentally don't believe that the party can win back working class voters and prevent a lasting GOP majority by pretending these issues simply don't exist. But what's interesting is they seem to keep pretending that these issues don't exist. And we're kind of in the middle of some of these issues kind of revealing themselves in real time, like the IOC decision from last week and the, some of the things and the victories that have been achieved when it comes to taking this gender affirming care nonsense out of the hands of medical professionals. So a lot of stuff going on. But look, the Democrats are still walking into some traps as well, I think is his point.
Yes, their conundrum is that they need to appease their base, which is that last remaining 10% that thinks that biological males should be able to go into women's locker rooms or play in women's sports, that they can't totally alienate them because you can't turn out your base, you can't win, and their base just happens to be a bunch of Looney Tunes. But the other piece of it, though, and the lesson that I'm afraid is actually going to work for them is, did you see, I think it was Axios today that was talking about how Democrats say that they need to run a straight white Christian male, that they've tried running women in the past. They've tried having gay candidates. None of it has worked. And that's been the problem. Not the issues, not what they're saying, but what they look like and where they worship. And so my fear is that it's going to be like the Tallarico thing down in Texas. They're going to put one of those on the ballot, but all of their policies are going to be just as extreme and as wild.
My favorite thing about Tallarico is I had people, and these are some of these Dems I like around here, their common sense, trying to convince me a few weeks ago, this guy's different, he's normal. And then the stuff comes out about him, like, guys, he does not have a chance. He's just as loopy as the rest of them. Cassie Smedile, always great to have you on. Thank you for helping us start the week here in St. Louis.
Thank you, sir.
All right,
have a great week.
Yeah, we'll see. We got Jim Talent on the topic of Iran coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got some volume out there. Southbound 55, already a slow go, headed down toward Bates. We've got 44 westbound jammed at 270. 70 westbound is fine out of downtown, but it's slow right at 270. We had an earlier accident at 141. Westbound traffic on 370 slows at 141, that due to road work. And the westbound 40 jam is pretty much approaching Hampton out through Hanley, but then it slows again. And this is near McKnight through 270. You get a break, and it's a little slow at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Slow pockets on southbound 270, approaching Olive, down through Doherty Ferry, and a little slow at Gravois. If you're headed into Illinois, we look fine on the bridges downtown, but eastbound 64 slowing east of 157. That, of course, is all due to road work. And other than that, we're good. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. They have been, for 25 years, St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes. From windows and siding to kitchens, baths, and outdoor spaces, they give you quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Go to lakesiderd.com to start your project. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, I want to talk about Stewart's American Mortgage, and there's a real big difference between what you get with Stewie and the rest. You keep more of your money. It's very simple. It's the bagel loan. It is the bagel loan because it looks like a zero. You pay zero in fees that other lenders charge for. It's a great time to refi. Now, you might be cash poor. You might be looking at the rates and saying, well, that's not the rate I have on my mortgage right now. Well, if you need cash, and if you refi with Stewie, where you pay no appraisal fees, no closing costs, no title fees, and no broker fees, you're going to come ahead of the game. You're going to save money. His whole goal is to save you thousands of dollars. He has a big passion for doing this. It's he and his son, Jordan, that run the company. So I'm going to give you a phone number here. You're not going to be left on hold, pressing button 1 or pressing button 2 to get to him. This is his cell phone. So he either is going to answer or call you back, or a lot of people a little bit more comfortable texting. So if you want to find out more about the bagel loan and how he created it and why he created it, text him or call 314-324-4040. If, one of the other things he talks about, we had him on the air a couple weeks ago, maybe you have a 30-year mortgage right now. Maybe you can, condense that into a 20-year. You still have the same payment. Maybe it's a little more, maybe it's a little less, but you pay that loan off faster. So he has options for you. Google the bagel loan or call 314-324-4440. NMLS number 226715.
Hi, this is Steve Butts from the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. In 2026, our agency celebrates a momentous occasion as we celebrate 65 years of service to our clients, a tribute to our founder and my dad, Norm Butts. Our staff is ready to assist you with all your insurance needs. So please call me, Steve Butts, at 314-752-2500 or at crawfordbutts.com. For auto, home, and commercial insurance needs, that's crawfordbutts.com.
The colder weather is here, and my friends at Hanson's Tree Service want to offer you a 10% winter discount for all tree care scheduled between January and March of next year. Mark Cox here. Call now. Get your spot secured. Also, when it comes to winter plant health care, it's a great time to get one of their arborists over. Have them to prescribe the best treatment options for your trees during the fall and winter season. Tell them you heard Mark Cox talking about it. Schedule your appointment today at hansonstree.com.
One of the biggest gifts you can give your family is peace of mind. That's why I trust and recommend Civia Law. They've helped so many families, including mine, right here in our community with estate planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and elder law issues. I've seen how stressful it can be when a loved one passes without a plan. Families are left confused, sometimes tied up in probate court, and it can cost so much in time and money. But with Civia Law, you don't have to worry about that. They'll walk you through everything and even deliver your completed documents in just 2 weeks from your first appointment. And here's something special just for you. Mention the Annie Fry Show, and the first 10 listeners right now will get a free strategy session. That's a $300 value. 833-995-WILL. Just be sure to mention the Annie Fry Show when you call. Civia Law has 7 convenient locations across Illinois and Missouri, including in Edwardsville, Swansea, and Creve Coeur. Secure your legacy and protect the people you love. Call 833-995-WILL. That's 833-995-WILL, or visit civialaw.com.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
336, this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Where common sense rules the mic. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
What this is about is the destruction of their Air Force, which has been largely achieved, the destruction of their Navy, which has been largely achieved, the destruction of their factories that they make all these weapons. All of those objectives are being met on or ahead of schedule.
Yeah, that's the Secretary of State Marco Rubio yesterday. And then today, President Trump, actually, I think this is from yesterday as well, asked about this boots on the ground option, saying he's got a lot of options still here.
Are you considering still putting boots on the ground, and would you do that without going to Congress?
I just have lots of alternatives. We have tremendous numbers of ships over there. We don't need them all because of, the power. Look, I would say we're just like we're ahead of schedule on the ballroom. In a much bigger way, we're ahead of schedule with Iran. We're weeks ahead of schedule.
On the ballroom, the New York Times or Washington Post or one of them did this thing where they did this visualization of the ballroom, and all it was pointing out the flaws of the architecture. They didn't have anything good to say about it. Former United States Senator Jim Talent is with us this afternoon, foreign policy expert, to talk about the latest situation with Iran. Hello, Jim. How are you this afternoon?
I am fine, Mark. How are you? I got a little cold.
Oh, that's
but
okay.
I'm soldiering through.
That's been going around. All right. So the administration, I guess what we're hearing today is, and we heard this at the briefing a little bit from Carolyn, is that, there's 4 to 6 weeks is what they said. We're at 4 weeks right now. There are conversations that are going on. Let's start there. If Trump says he's got good high-level conversations, he believes he's talking to the right people, what do you think about that?
Well, I think if you want to stop an aggressor, you change his intention or you break his capability. So we're about done breaking his capability.
Yeah,
I
it
think the
seems
president there was never any question, Mark, that we could do that. I mean, I would have bet everything I had that we would do that. And now Trump is checking in on their intention. He's saying basically, have you had enough yet? Now, what we're going to have to do is open the strait. And I expect that once we exhaust the target list, that'll be our job. The Israelis pretty much finished their initial targeting list, and their signs they're going after some of the economic infrastructure. So you see, so we're applying additional leverage on them and pressure while also engaging in negotiations. It's classic. It's okay. Let's see what carrots we can give you while we're beating you with a bigger stick.
But obviously, there were conversations that were had, and there were efforts at diplomacy leading up to the attack. I mean, we all kind of knew that was failing, and then there was the big buildup of ships, and 4 weeks ago, the bombs started dropping. But when it comes to the ability of Iran to fight back, we've heard really, really damaging reports of how much military infrastructure they have left. So then outside, all right, let's do it this way. Outside of the diplomacy and the talks that are supposedly going well, if those talks don't go well, then what's our option? Because if we bomb the crap out of them, obviously he's still talking about some of the energy infrastructure. That's going to really not play well if, the energy goes out in Iran. But is he kind of backed into a corner here on what the next step could be, Jim, or not?
Well, I think once we get the strait open, at that point, we can just end our participation if we want to. I suspect strongly, and we should have time to do this while we're doing the strait operation, is that we're going to give the protesters a chance next. And the Israelis will be helping them. They're already doing that. And we'll see what the impact that has on the regime. So that's what I expect to have happen. But whether it does or doesn't, once we have the strait fully open again, we've destroyed their capability. We've completed the mission. And now the president can try and probably will to get regime overthrow, because that would be an even bigger win for us. But it's not necessarily what we set out to do. It isn't what we set out to do. The Israelis want to get rid of the regime, and you can understand why, because they're actually in the region, and they'd like to get rid of the problem once and for all. And I think we're going to give them a chance to do that.
So if I'm the leadership of Iran and I still think I have an opportunity to strike back, at the United States, I've been worried about this since, 9/11. I think a lot of people have. And there's some reports that maybe there's sleeper cells here on American soil that could do damage. Because you would think if they want to do damage, you target a mall or a sports event or something like that. You would think that, and we would hope that we would have proper intel to thwart something like that. But how big of a concern would you have that retaliation could occur within our country?
It's a concern. Now, what you have to remember is that these concerns are arguments against the mission, but they're also arguments for the mission, because this is what Iran is willing to do. It's the reason why we have to take out their capability, and it's the reason why we should do it when they're weak, and when we've discovered in the last 2 years that we have this very, very powerful ally who's willing to go all in with us. Okay, so the only way we end that permanently is by getting rid of the regime, which is why I think that is probably Trump's big vision. Get rid of the regime, but in any event, break its capability, and then put together a new equilibrium in the Middle East, which will be the Gulf states, Israel, Egypt, Jordan, under the diplomatic leadership of the United States. It's one of those two things, and we've just got to wait it out and see. But the key thing, I don't really worry about it, because all my navalist friends tell me, yes, we planned this, we practiced it, we can get the strait open. And one of the things I don't know is what kind of risk premium like the insurance companies are willing to accept. I mean, I guess if I had to speculate, we'll escort, we can talk about how to do that, but we'll escort these freighters through the strait. And as we prove our ability to do that, very possibly with multinational support, the administration's working on that, then the risk will be perceived as going down and we'll get back to a normal state. It'll take a few weeks, but we'll have dealt, at least for the foreseeable future and hopefully permanently, with the Iranian threat.
What do you make of NATO's response? And maybe not NATO's response, but the individual countries. Spain, in particular, closed airspace to U.S. planes involved in attacks in Iran. They have folks in their leadership that have been very, very critical of this situation. We haven't been, getting full-on support from Keir Starmer in the U.K. What's because now we have missiles that we think can hit parts of Europe. So you would think that they would want to do more to help stop this situation.
Yes, exactly. This is exposing the reason for the complaints.
Yes.
Or the points that the Trump administration has been making, and to be frank, the previous administrations had made as well, which is basically, what are you all bringing to the table? I mean, if you want to be part of an alliance, you have to hold up your end. I mean, that's true in a relationship, isn't it? In any relationship. So you've disarmed. You don't really have anything to add. You're not willing to add what you do have. You don't want us even to use your airspace, the bases that we have in your country, which, by the way, sheds some light on why the president's been concerned about Greenland. Because what they say is, you don't need sovereignty over your bases because you can always use them. Well, we thought we could use the base in Britain and in Spain as well. So
yeah, that's actually an interesting point. I didn't think about that, but yes.
Exactly. It's a clarifying moment. And Europeans have to decide. I mean, I mentioned disarming. They've also denuded themselves of energy resources. So their economies are in the tank. They're riven by internal division. They haven't dealt with the mass migration the way. I mean, there are hard decisions they have to make, and it's up to them. But if they want to be part of an alliance and a functioning member of the alliance, they need to do something about these things.
I would completely agree.
The Germans, I think, are starting to, and they're very key. I mean, basically, NATO was always, to the extent they contributed anything, it was the German army and the British Navy. The Brits, there's no way they can rebuild their Navy anytime in the near future. But the Germans are different. We also have Finland and Sweden. So let's not overstate, Europe's position on this. We have a lot of support in Europe, but the Western Europeans are a problem.
Jim Talent, awesome to have you on. Heal up, get that cold better. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
All right, take care. That's former United States Senator Jim Talent.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, it looks like we've got a stall northbound 170 at the Forest Park Parkway. They've got the right lane and the right shoulder blocked, the right lane blocked by a MoDOT truck. And here comes the tow truck. So that should help. But if you are northbound, that is a little bit of a delay. We've got debris reported. Now, this is northbound 270 past Dorset. Watch for that in the center lane. Moving road work is southbound 270 past the Rock Road on the right side. A little bit of a delay there. Road work causing delays westbound 370, especially headed for 141. And southbound 270, slow pockets now from Page down through Gravois. 55, that's a slow go at Bates and a little bit at Z. Out west, 64, it's moderate volume. West of Winghaven out through 70. 70 westbound slows at the O'Fallon area at K. And eastbound traffic, there's an accident reported east of Wright City. That has caused a delay as well. This report is brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Simply the finest when it comes to mirror glass and shower doors. And they have the largest, most beautiful showroom in all of St. Louis right there in Chesterfield Valley. There you'll see why they say creativity unlimited, quality unsurpassed. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
This month, 97.1 FM Talk in Action spotlights Helmets First, a nonprofit promoting kids' safety through free bike helmets, education, and partnerships with local police. Officers help fit helmets and connect with kids in the community. Learn how you can help at helmetsfirst.com.
Innsbruck is an amazing, amazing place that's only about an hour from St. Louis. And some of the properties that they have available out there are really stunning. A few years ago, I started talking about the tree houses, which was one of the newest developments. Now, these are like real homes suspended high above the ground. Calling them a tree house is probably not doing them a service, but they're just beautiful. So then they kind of, after that, they introduced the tree houses. They were very, very popular. They introduced the Sonnet House. Now, the Sonnet House kind of blends the modern exterior of the tree house with interior elements of a cottage, and it's really, really comfortable, really cool. If you go online, they have floor plans. They have 3D tours available. Of course, they always have the A-frame chalets out at Innsbruck. You can build a custom home. You can rent a condo or buy a condo. The Reardons like to vacation out there, like a staycation. We rent property. We usually get pet friendly. There's lots of hiking and fishing and all kinds of fun stuff. My tip is always rent a golf cart because it's a golf cart community. You can't go very fast with your cars anyway. Check out Innsbruck today. Make your staycation or build a home or buy a home. Do what you want. Innsbruck-resort.com.
This is attorney Todd Nissenholtz of Kaufman Townsend. Many of our clients are victims of negligent drivers. They put their trust in us, and we help them recover physically and financially. Their words carry more weight than ours.
They guided me through every step of the legal process with clarity and expertise, ensuring that I always felt informed and supported.
Injured? Call Kaufman Townsley. It costs you nothing to call, but may cost you everything if you don't. Call 314-777-7777.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They're in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Don't paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Did you know replacing old vinyl windows with more vinyl windows might not be the best choice? Hi, it's Kim, and I'm here to tell you about Infinity from Marvin Windows, because these fiberglass windows, they're energy efficient, they're beautiful, and they're custom built to fit your home perfectly. The team at Lakeside Renovation and Design just makes the process so easy. I love the fact that they even offer a lifetime workmanship warranty. Look, if you're tired of drafts, high energy bills, or maybe hard to open windows, now is the time to upgrade. Visit windowsbylakeside.com to schedule your free consultation today.
Don't let tax refund worries hold you back. File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We got a Monday edition of Sue's News coming up here after the top of the hour. This is one of my favorite stories of the weekend, there's no doubt. It didn't happen here. It happened in Vancouver in Canada, but it's still a lot of fun politically. So there is something called the New Democratic Party 2026 Leadership Convention that was actually held in Winnipeg over the weekend. And according to the party constitution, the NDP, as it's called, the New Democratic Party, has a situation that recognizes 5 what they call equity-seeking groups, Sue. Sometimes phrased as including but not limited to racialized members, not radicalized, they are all radicalized, racialized members, indigenous members, members of the, I can't help you here, 2SLGBTQ plus community, I'm not sure where the 2 comes from, persons living with disabilities, and women, non-cis men, both of those. I thought that those were the same thing, women, but no, non-cis men. I guess that's gay, right? That's a gay man. Delegates from equity-seeking groups received color-coded cards at registration. And what they do is they allow you to signal priority for speaking at the microphone. So they're going through these debates, these sessions. The goal is to have more equitable representation. Right now, this is all predicated on the belief, of course, some of this nonsense that we're trying to blow up here in this country, that trans women are women, the equity card system did not differentiate between biological women and trans-identifying individuals with the gender category. So this was very, very stressful for some of these people. Sue, over the weekend, check this out.
There's a point of privilege on microphone 1, then we'll go to microphone 3. Go ahead, delegate.
Yes. Hello. I was standing here with my gender equity card before you called on the previous speaker. That's my point of privilege that I would like to raise.
I will explain the speaking order, which is fixed, that I cannot amend, which is the pro-con rotation.
Okay, now, so like in any ordinary circumstance, if I were to play this and not really set it up, and if you thought it was a different era mainly because SNL isn't funny anymore, you would literally think this was some sort of comedy bit, right? Because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah. Move yourself up a line that you're standing in.
I am pro, and I was...
We went...
You went pro, con,
We went pro, and my plan was to go con. The speaker at con mic 3 also has a speaking card.
Yesterday, this card was used in an inappropriate manner.
Uh-oh.
And while I understand in Ontario, we know this is equity, even if this was also used inappropriate in terms of gender. I want everyone to be mindful that these cards for individuals like myself who identify as a Black woman have no value outside of this space.
Yeah, she she was holding a purple race equity card, and she said, I want everyone to be mindful that these cards for individuals like myself who identify as a Black woman have no value outside of this space. Okay. Yeah. You know why? Because it's dumb for you to have a purple card, race equity card. It's ridiculous. Robert, this is one of my favorites too. See, Sue, Robert is a he-them delegate, and he held a racial equity card. He complained during an earlier housing resolution debate he was passed over by a white man. I mean, he's a man, but he's he-them, but a white man, that's like the worst thing you can ever have. Another delegate, citing intersecting gender identity, complained about being passed over as well. And they said, hey, this pertains to multiple intersecting parts of my lived experience. I'd like to speak. I was rejected and expressed frustration that a cis woman had spoken first. This is real. These are.
I mean, I don't even. Okay.
It's not in this country, but they're just as crazy here. This stuff happens here too. Congratulations, Canada, for embarrassing yourself even more than you already have.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, we've got some issues out there. There was an accident. The latest one is westbound 70 at 270 in the left lane. So that has created slow-moving traffic back past the airport. We've got debris northbound 270 past Dorset. Watch out for a stall northbound 170 at the Forest Park Parkway. Southbound 270, slow pockets Page down through Gravois. 55 is slowing. That's mainly headed down toward Bates. 70 westbound, of course, slow past the airport. But once you get past there, a little bit of volume here and there out through the 64 split. Westbound 370 jams at 141. And if you're headed into Illinois, we actually look okay on the bridges downtown. But there's an accident on 64 past 157 causing delays. Phew. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
When you left the fish fry the other day, did you see those chickens that were at that one person's house on the side of
What?
the road?
No.
There were just a couple of chickens hanging
cool.
out, but they were like close to the road, but it kind of made me want chickens, Sue.
Don't
As
do
if
it.
I don't have enough in my house,
Oh, my
right?
gosh.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Honey, I found the one.
Oh, I thought I was the one.
Oh, you are, but this one's certified, background check, shows up on time, and can install all the ceiling fans.
Heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing. Trusted pros who do it right.
We had some great sponsors who swung by the last 5 weeks at our fish fries. Susan L. Ward was one of them. We like to visit with her several times a year. She's a great sponsor of 97.1 FM Talk and my show. I didn't know Susan until I moved over here from KMOX. She does great work in the community, and she is rated AV Preeminent. Now, that's from Martindale-Hubbell. That's a peer rating that an attorney gets showing that they've reached the height of professional excellence. So the votes come from different attorneys. But what I'd like to just kind of point out with Susan and her firm is regardless regardless of the issues in your case. They want to make sure that they have their experience and knowledge that brings you the best possible resolution and effectively and efficiently as possible. These are tough cases, and Susan's not going to lie to you about that. But if you have a good representation, a good team on your side, someone with a ton of experience like Susan's team, you're going to be better off in the long run. You can contact them on the website by going to stlfamilylaw.com or call 314-783-9400, 314-783-9400. The focus on family law, the emphasis on you. Susan L. Ward, do me a favor, tell them that we sent you along.
Triton Exteriors, St. Louis roofing, siding, and gutter systems. We'll take care of you and your home. We're #1 in the Ladue, Kirkwood, and Webster area. James Hardy certified. Visit triton.stl.com to be connected with a James Hardy expert and receive a free estimate. Triton-stl.com or call 314-717-1159. That's 314-717-1159. Triton Exteriors, St. Louis #1 James Hardy specialists.
Ever felt a nagging toothache or maybe a sensitive spot? It's frustrating, right? But don't let that worry hold you back. This is Dr. Michael A. White. I am dedicated to providing gentle, affordable dental care that puts your comfort first. Our experienced team and advanced technology will ensure a smooth, relaxing experience. It's just common sense. Don't hurt the patient. Call my office at 314-270-8552. That's 314-270-8552.
Okay, I have some really good news. Well, we do have the 0% a lot. We do have it on our regular products because you will be unbelievably shocked, especially if you call me and I'll give you the straight up scoop on how much money you can actually save by if you spent $20,000 versus $10,000 on a system. The difference could be as little as, I don't know, let's just say, not to exaggerate, 5 cents. So be careful out there and always remember your energy savings is based on your house. It is not based on the equipment. So common sense advice and help and guidance. Again, call me, Bart Inman, one easy number, Missouri and Illinois. The easiest, 314-293-2600. Again, one easy number, Missouri and Illinois, 314-293-2600. Or on the internet, that is bartinman.com. That is Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. God bless.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
The Iran link to a Michigan attack. Lisa Brady, Fox News. The FBI says a man who crashed his truck into a Detroit area synagogue earlier this month was inspired by an Iran-backed militant group.
We assess this attack to be a Hezbollah-inspired act of terrorism, purposely targeting the Jewish community and the largest Jewish temple in Michigan.
FBI Detroit special agent in charge, Jennifer Runyon, says the suspect made a video before the attack saying he wanted to kill as many as possible and had looked up other Jewish sites. His ex-wife calling police around the time of the attack to warn he appeared suicidal after several family members were killed by an Israeli airstrike in his native Lebanon. The 41-year-old gunman killed himself during the synagogue attack. President Trump still pushing for a deal with Iran, even as more U.S. forces arrive in the Middle East.
If there's ever a chance for a deal, again, the president is open to listening, but it does not deter him from focusing on the military objectives that he set out 30 days ago.
White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt also says the U.S. military will follow the law, facing questions about whether Iranian energy sites would be considered civilian targets. Iran's foreign ministry calling U.S. peace proposals unrealistic. Lawyers for accused Charlie Kirk assassin Tyler Robinson are seeking at least a 6-month delay for a preliminary hearing and signaling a possible challenge to some forensic evidence.
A number of big headlines came out of today's filing by the defense, notably this sentence right here, quote, regarding the firearm evidence, the defense has been provided with an ATF Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives summary report, which indicates that the ATF was unable to identify the bullet recovered at autopsy to the rifle allegedly tied to Mr. Robinson.
Fox's Alicia Acuna, the defense also pointing to a large volume of discovery evidence. The next hearing is set for April 17th when the judge will consider a delay. America is listening to Fox News.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZzzQuil Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZzzQuil Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZzzQuil Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Hard to tell. It is late March as the summer pattern continues. Partly cloudy, breezy, and warm. Upper 70s this evening. 67 for the low. Tuesday, partly sunny, windy, and warm. Primarily a dry day, but there could be a spot shower or thunder shower late in the afternoon. 86 for the high. The record's 87. Periods of rain and a couple of thunderstorms Tuesday night. 60. That's the pattern, an unsettled weather pattern. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, it's a beautiful afternoon, weather-wise, warm, but the wind gusts are pretty hefty out there, I think I would say. I was just looking at the screen, Fred, behind you on Channel 4's weather forecast. I think it's like 85, 86, but the winds are gusting up to like 30, 35 miles per hour. So that's pretty breezy occasionally.
I watched a couple outdoor soccer games over the weekend, and it was just wonderful sitting in the sun.
Oh, it was beautiful,
And it was
wasn't
a great
it?
breeze. It was great.
Kids games, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Young adults.
Family members and stuff
family
like that.
members.
So Sue's going to come in and do Sue's News in a few minutes. I wanted to do this, and I need time to do this because it's long, but I think it's worth it. And some of you out there have probably seen this gone viral on the Twitter. I've seen it on X, and I don't even know who this person is. They are identified as Yogi, House of Yogi, on the X. But, of course, we had the No Kings protests, and there were some pretty good turnouts, even here in St. Louis. I saw a lot of old white people. That's basically what it was. Old white people. I believe it was half of the population of Webster Groves and about 2/3 of the population of Kirkwood were out there in downtown St. Louis.
It was also in Edwardsville as well.
Oh, really? Yeah. So they had old white people. Basically, it's just all old white people holding signs. I'm not sure if it was for, geriatric care that they were needing or something else. But we did learn, as Scott Jennings points out, a lot about the No Kings protesters.
These No Kings rallies actually look pretty representative to me of the Democratic coalition. I saw people flying the hammer and sickle in New York City. I saw Hezbollah flags. I saw Hamas flags. I saw Palestinian flags. I saw trans signs. I see weirdo liberal boomers out there. This is pretty representative of the Democratic coalition, and that's who funds it as well, by the way. And so I think if America looks at this and says, what do the two parties stand for? They got it at the No Kings rally.
No, I think if you Americans were out there, Republicans.
You like hammer and sickle? You like hammer and sickle flags?
That's not what that No King stood for.
They had a bunch
you know
of
that,
them.
and that is
They come from somewhere.
All right,
No Kings rally?
I did. I went to 6, and I'll tell you, there's so much excitement.
6?
There's so much energy. Yeah,
That's a lot of free speech.
I'll get you a T-shirt. You should come.
That's a lot of free speech for a country with a king.
That's a lot of free speech.
Yeah, that is. You hear what he said? There's a lot of free speech. So this Yogi guy on Twitter, and again, I don't know who this guy is. No Kings explained for people who think they're fighting fascism. And it's just hilarious to me because, and I've stopped myself. I peruse on Facebook and I see even former coworkers who are saying some of the dumbest things that I can't believe. But here's what Yogi said. You're standing in a crowd on Saturday. You look around and you think, yeah, no kings. This is what democracy looks at. Bro, you're holding a sign made by a communist billionaire who lives in Shanghai. You live in a constitutional republic. Elections, term limits, a free press that spent 4 years calling the president a fascist without one journalist being arrested, lo and behold. The modern left's definition of fascism. You love your country, fascist. You want to enforce the border, racist. You think parents should raise their kids, bigot. You want to know who's voting in your elections, Jim Crow, right? Being patriotic is fascism to the modern left. It really is. But in every country that has borders and enforces them, 176 countries require ID to vote. It's the definition of a country. But in the Democratic establishment, you're told otherwise, and you believe them. Congress has a 15% approval rating. 80% of Americans disapprove. 97% of incumbents got reelected. So they point out, you want to talk about kings. Chuck Schumer, 46 years. That's longer than Stalin. Steny Hoyer, and some of these, by the way, are Republicans, 45 years, longer than Mao. Mitch McConnell, 42 years, 5 times more than Napoleon. Nancy Pelosi, 39 years, longer than Henry VIII. Maxine Waters, 35 years, longer than Mussolini. Bernie Sanders, 35 years, triple Hitler's entire reign. You understand the point here. And by the way, I agree with that point. Some of these the older white people I spoke of earlier, there's still a lot of those in Congress right now. But what Yogi said is Saturday they had you in the streets carrying their water. The Democrat Party installed the president. This is really important, too, because it never gets discussed when they bring this stuff up. The Democrat Party installed the president without letting you vote. Remember that? Biden quit on a Sunday. By Tuesday, your queen was crowned. No primary, no debate, no ballot. That had not happened since 1968. Right? 3 days before your march, every Senate Democrat voted against photo ID to vote. Okay? During COVID, this is where I get really pissed off on the COVID front. During COVID, you carried a vaccine card everywhere like a hall pass from the government just to eat at a restaurant. Or I remember freezing my ass to go see Glass Animals at the Factory, a band that I really like. And if it was not a band that I love that much, I would have gotten out of that line so quick. I waited, I think, 40 minutes for them to check my vaccine card. We did that in this country. That is horrifying and embarrassing. And I still can't believe we did some of these things. Like we gave people tickets for going to the beach in California. Utterly ridiculous, right? During COVID, they pointed out, you carried a vaccine card everywhere, just like a hall pass, but getting a birth certificate or waiting 2 hours at the DMV to prove you're a citizen before you vote, well, that's oppression, right? The Democrat Party is pro-illegal immigration, counts non-citizens in the census. Census determines congressional seats. More non-citizens means more seats, more power. No voter ID means no way to check. That's how you keep your power without wearing a crown, right? But this is other things that they did, not under this president, under the previous president, Joe Biden. He built a censorship machine, pressured Facebook. This is indisputable at this point, right? Pressured Facebook to suppress true information, admitted in its writing, censored scientists, censored doctors, censored jokes. The Biden White House told Facebook to remove humor and satire. That's how crazy we were. They were going off on people for making fun of them. Everything they censored, though, turned out to be right. Think about that. They just outsourced the silencing to Silicon Valley. And as Yogi put in this lengthy tweet, it doesn't stop at speech. The extreme left justifies taking children from families. They do in California. If your child goes to school, does not want to use their dead name, right, decides that they're a different gender, decides to go to Canada and argue about gender equity cards that we just played recently, that's something that the extreme left. Now, if you're not in the camp on the left that supports these things, you best tell the rest of your party because they do, right? 6,000 schools rewrite children's identities without telling parents, and the state has the right to intervene. That's outrageous that happens. During COVID, your bakery got shut down, church closed. You couldn't hold your dying mother's hand at the hospital. These are all things that happened, okay? We're not making them up. They happened because of Democrats. That didn't happen in Missouri. That didn't happen in Florida, right? Now, some of this happened under Trump, but the Republican governors did a lot better, and they were called killers, right? You know, remember when we wanted to open the schools? You're just going to kill the teachers. That's what Randy Weingarten and teachers said. They were holding picket signs. They didn't care, shamefully, those teachers, not all teachers. They didn't care that they would let their students go years behind in reading and mathematics and some of these other things. They were just afraid of themselves, even though no one was dying of COVID at that time anyway, except people over 85 years old and morbidly obese, et cetera, right? Thousands packed together during Black Lives Matter to burn Minneapolis, and that was civic engagement. Remember that, right? That was allowed. $2 billion in damages, 25 dead, 2,000 cops injured, 20 states burning. Kamala Harris promoted a bail fund for the rioters. no investigation, no hearings, right? We're still doing no kings here. Remember? January 6th, one building, few hours, 1,000 prosecuted, 2 years of televised hearings. Charlie Kirk spent his life walking onto campuses asking for honest debate. He was assassinated. 75% of liberal students say preventing a speaker from talking is justified. 27% say violence is acceptable. Liberals who went to Trump's rallies, I never felt unsafe. The experience changed me. Go figure. Conservatives who show up on liberal campuses get screamed at, blocked, assassinated, spat upon, right? One side talks, the other side screams and screeches and whines like little babies, I would say, too. The Party for Socialism and Liberation marched with you Saturday. Their stated purpose, in their own words, is revolution. It's not reform. It's Marxism. The system that killed 100 million people last century. They had you holding their signs on Saturday, you white old idiots. The money leads to a billionaire in Shanghai who attends CCP workshops, funnels millions through shell companies and George Soros as well. So you thought you were fighting for democracy? You were carrying water for Beijing. Bill Clinton put one, I'm skipping over some of these because it really is lengthy. Bill Clinton put 100,000 cops on the streets, reformed welfare, said illegal immigration is wrong to a standing ovation, told America the era of big government is over. Today, his own party would call him a fascist, right? The 1990s Democrat defended free speech for Nazis. Your censors, doctors for telling the truth. I mean, some of this, whoever put this together, this Yogi guy, is incredible, right? Historians measure fascism across 8 traits. Here's who checks the boxes. Censorship of political opposition, Democrats. Contempt for democratic process, Democrats. Tolerance of political violence, clearly Democrats. State ideology forced on families, Democrats. Corporate state fusion, Democrats. Scapegoating and manufactured enemies, both sides. A little fairness here. Cult of personality, both sides. Ultranationalism, Republicans. 5 for the left, 1 for the right. 2 shared. You marched against kings on Saturday. No, you marched for kings. You just didn't know which was which. Stop being gaslit. Brilliant post. Thank you, Yogi. Sue's News is coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the Illinois side, accidents reported eastbound 64. East of 157, and then we had one reported westbound, so it's busy over there. Also busy coming off of the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge on 70 eastbound. Southbound 55, slowing, of course, at Bates, and then headed for 141, and again at Z. Southbound 270. Slow in pockets. Well, it's slow at 70, but then mainly from Olive through Doherty Ferry. 44 jams at 141. Southbound 170 is slow, headed for 64. There was an earlier accident westbound 70 at 270. Still a delay there, and on westbound 370 at 141. Out west, it's the usual volume. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. This report is brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they have been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes. They do windows, siding, kitchens, baths, and outdoor spaces. They give you quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Go to lakesiderd.com. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, I want to talk about Game Day Men's Health. And one thing I would recommend, and I'm going to tell you how they're going to guide you into a free visit, a free consultation. You meet one-on-one in Chesterfield. Matt Lawrence has a great team out there to discuss your situation, your goals, your medical history. You get a free testosterone and PSA test, and they have on-site advanced testing. So this is going to be done in as little as 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. It's fast, it's private. And then they come up with a personalized treatment plan. If you go on to the Game Day Men's Health website, they have a portion that says, see the results for yourself. And you can see how patients have transformed. They have all kinds of Instagram stories up there from people who really turn their life around. And if you're looking for the right treatment for your situation, they have GLP-1 medications, they have peptides, all kinds of stuff. It's complicated, though. You need experts to guide you through this. That's what they do at Game Day Men's Health. The location in Chesterfield is at Highway 6440, Olive and Clarkson. The website, GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Make an appointment. Get in there. It's an hour appointment. They stick to that. They're very proud of it. They're going to treat you very well. GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
Tomorrow, some of us will wake up and it will be our last day on this earth. It will be unexpected and without warning. Each year, 250,000 people will die from medical malpractice, the third leading cause of death in America. 43,000 will die in a car or truck crash. 6,000 will die working on the job. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan, and we represent many of these families. It's awful. Unfortunately, many times some of these family members are not speaking and never get to say, I'm sorry or goodbye. If you're at odds with a loved one, listen closely. Pick up the phone. Call them. Say you're sorry. I promise a huge burden will be lifted from your heart and your soul will be renewed. Even if you're not wrong in your own mind, it doesn't matter. Death is bad enough. Death without closure and love will follow you the rest of your days. Trust me on this. Morgan & Morgan. Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
For the last 33 years, you've discovered that at Banner Construction, we pride ourselves on quality craftsmanship. We believe the single most important decision homeowners must make when considering an exterior restoration project is who do you hire. At Banner, we provide well-engineered, meaningful, long-term solutions to transform your home into the pride of the neighborhood. Let us help you fall in love with your home all over again. Call or visit bannerconstruction.com and have a banner day.
This is Congressman Bob Onder. Tax season is here, and Missouri families are already seeing the real impact of the Working Families Tax Cut Act. House Republicans are delivering real results for hardworking Missourians. According to the Council of Economic Advisors, the bill is projected to raise wages in Missouri by about $3,000 to $6,000 over the next 4 years. That's more money for groceries, gas, and greater security for your family's future. In Congress, I'm working to protect working families, strengthen our economy, and ensure you are keeping more of your hard-earned money.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
It is not hard to destroy a college.
Last season, the podcast Campus Files brought you stories of fraternity drug rings, stolen body parts, campus cults, and more.
And now, Campus Files is back for another season.
There's a guy screaming into his phone. He's like, I just saw Charlie Kirk get assassinated right in front of me.
Every week is a new episode and a new story.
It was so chaotic.
It's almost like a university on a siege.
Listen to and follow Campus Files, available now wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Oh my gosh, we started here with just an incredible sports weekend, kind of recapping that. Frank Cusumano is going to help us out with that again right around 4:48 this afternoon, but we got to do this on a Monday for sure.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
I feel like that was a really short weekend. Anyone?
I agree.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
Too short.
Yeah, we blinked, and it all just went, whoo. All right, it is National Virtual Vacation Day.
How does that work?
That's right. We are supposed to all remember, Fred, that we should take some time and relax this week and every week at our own homes. Just don't be stressed and running around all the time. Okay, well, that's real easy. Let's just do that. Okay. It's also National Turkey Neck Soup Day. Turkey neck soup. Now, we are all encouraged. We are all encouraged to make soup from stock we made from a turkey neck. Now, that's fine. But I don't want a turkey neck soup. So if you make stock, you just boil it in there and it makes turkey stock, and then you can make a soup. Who's going to do that? Probably only me in this room.
Well, we do make stock from our turkey, but I don't do
and
it.
the
But actually, you know
blib.
what you pointed out? I don't do that. I should. I usually get rid of those, but we just do the carcass. But knowing what you just said, I should save all that stuff for the
you
for
can
the boiling,
freeze
right?
it and boil it and make that,
Look
and you
at
can
that.
use that for your gravy or for soup.
All these years, I have failed on my soup
That was a big
making.
thing with my mom when I was growing up.
Same. Oh my gosh! And you'd say, "What's in there?" And then you go,
Oh,
"Oh,
no.
never mind." It's also National Pencil Day. Okay, fun fact: the average pencil can write a continuous line 35 miles long.
I'd say that's pretty impressive.
It is. Okay, and here's another thing.
Wait,
a man, 35 miles long.
Well, now that's going to depend on how much pressure's on the pencil, though.
Well,
isn't
sure.
it?
If you do a light line.
Okay.
What,
Let's
and
say
you wouldn't need to sharpen it?
Ever?
Well, that's not a fact. You could stop and it's not timed, Fred.
We're asking too many questions.
Yeah, thank you. You don't time it.
Sorry.
Just you could do that in the middle. Okay, a guy named Hyman Lipman received the first patent for attaching an eraser to the end of the pencil on this day in history in 1858.
Brilliant.
Before that, you had your
Yeah.
pencil, you had your eraser. It was separate, and he came up with that.
Now, I do remember, like in elementary school, even though we had pencils that had erasers, you still had your little erasers,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They're little
Oh, yeah.
rectangle erasers that were
Yeah.
pretty important.
Yeah, they were. And remember, it was always a number 2 pencil.
Oh, yeah.
You had to use that to do the testing.
I will say I've used a pencil more in the past 3 weeks than I have in the past 30 years because I keep reaching for the one that's in that cup right by you and I don't have a pen. And sometimes I write things down. There's one in there.
I love that.
Want me
I
to show
see
it to you?
Oh, yeah, but
Well,
the
actually, you know what?
eraser's gone.
There's 3. Yeah, the eraser's not very much there.
I like one of those lead pencils that you click and take it down. Oh, I love that.
But look, that's sharpened very nicely.
Oh, that's nice.
keep
Where
that
are they
out.
sharpening these things?
That's a legit question too, Sue. I have no idea. I don't have an idea. All I know is that with the 3 pencils that are in this box, well, no, that one's not sharpened very well. 2 of them are sharpened well, and the erasers are worked down to nothing.
Yeah, that's more than 100 miles worth
Yes.
of writing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Well, at least 70. On this day in history, 45 years ago in 1981, was the day that President Ronald Reagan was shot and seriously injured by John Hinckley as he left a Washington, D.C. hotel. This is a very memorable event to those of us. Fred, you remember this?
Oh, yeah. I was in Mizzou Journalism School.
Oh, my gosh.
Yep.
That would be a big deal.
I was on spring break from Parkway West, but up in Chicago visiting my grandmother. My grandfather died in the late 1970s. My grandma was still alive in that time period. And I remember it happening and remember being at that house. Yeah.
Man, it changed a lot about Social Security, about the special. What? What am I saying?
Presidential security?
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. But they say, okay,
Secret Service.
Thank you. Thanks, Fred. That's what I'm trying to say. White House Press Secretary James Brady and 2 others were also wounded. Now, listen, there are a couple of books about this.
Oh,
the book Rawhide Down. Did you interview that guy?
Yeah, that guy was incredible.
Yeah.
He may have passed away by
Incredible.
now, but he had a lot of guilt. That guy. Do you have his name there?
Yeah. Hold on. Del Quentin Wilbur.
Yeah, he was.
And Jerry Parr wrote a book too. He was a Secret Service agent.
We had Del on.
We
I
had
think.
Del.
Yeah.
That book is really good, and it's not that long if you want to read it. It's called Rawhide Down,
Yep.
The Near Assassination of Ronald Reagan by Del Quentin Wilbur. Jerry Parr is the Secret Service agent credited with saving Reagan's life by deciding to go to the hospital rather than back to the White House. Once they figured out that he was shot, he said, okay, we're going to the hospital, and they say that saved his life.
Well, because it happened so quickly.
Yes.
They weren't sure if he
What
was hit or
happened?
how
Yes.
badly, right? Yeah.
Parr wrote a book called In the Secret Service, The True Story of the Man Who Saved President Reagan's Life. So a couple books out if you want to read about that. And then 42 years ago in 1984, Romancing the Stone was released.
Oh, I'm the creep, huh? Well, at least I'm honest. I'm stealing this stone. I'm not trying to romance it out from under her.
Oh, I love that movie.
Okay, so that would be one that I never really went back and have watched in more modern
That's
times.
fair. That's
I wonder
fair.
if does it hold up.
I don't know. I haven't watched it in years. I just love Michael Douglas. He's so funny in that. I don't know. And, of course, Danny DeVito. What's her name?
Kathleen Turner.
Yeah. So if you want to, it was just a favorite of mine of the time. Okay, Nestle says that thieves in Europe
That's a big deal. This is a big deal.
Stole 12 tons of Kit Kats.
Yeah. Yeah.
How does one, they say, which is apparently 413,793 candy bars. I guess there's a factory in Italy, and they were stolen just after leaving it. I assume that means they were in the truck.
Yeah, they were in the truck.
And
400,000.
Yes,
400,000. And they're not really that concerned about the supply. They issued a statement that said, "This happened. We're fine. Don't worry about it."
Really?
Yeah. Well, I love the Kit Kat. So I've gone from sort of the Hershey's miniature dark chocolate into the Kit Kats just as my little snack. But they
dark
say
chocolate, always the way to go.
I know, but with the Kit Kats, I don't think I get that. But let me just say that Fred, I sent that to you, I think, over the weekend. I was very concerned about that. 413,793 units of Kit Kat's new chocolate range. So it was maybe a new recipe or something like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
They have a partnership during F1's 75th anniversary. And Kit Kat is actually having a 90th anniversary. So they announced that they were going to be the official chocolate partner of F1 with the first ever chocolate molded car. So I guess there was a lot of attention on the fact that this was happening.
They also took a giant Kit Kat out to F1 at the beginning, like a huge one.
Right.
Yeah. Here was what the spokesperson says. We've always encouraged people to have a break with Kit Kat, but it seems thieves have taken this message too literally. Oh, the humor of a press release person. All right.
I thought that was pretty good.
It is pretty good.
And they also say that this is not isolated, that this is happening to other companies and stuff. Like they put an alert out where trucks are being seized and stuff like that.
How dare you take off with 400,000 Kit Kats?
How do you flip the chocolate around? What do you do?
I don't know.
Sell it at 50 cents a
That's how they get
package
you.
or something like that?
I guess.
We'll see a whole bunch of it here at work.
Yeah, no kidding. A college professor in Southern California went viral this week as he revealed one word that's a dead giveaway. Something was written by AI. The word, moreover. He says nobody really writes that word in a real paper, and that's one of the telltale ways he can tell if somebody has used AI for the paper.
Well, don't tell them that. They'll just remove that word.
Well, exactly. He said other words, furthermore, or thus, in everyday paper is a good way of telling.
That would make sense, though.
Yeah, no person says thus. Yeah. Although I think I may have used that in the paper more than moreover.
I'm going to try and work that into some of our stuff that I give you, Mark, to read.
All right.
See if you can catch it.
And finally, in Sue's news, we have today's random fact. It would take a sloth roughly 6.6 hours to travel a mile.
How long would it take him to write a pencil mark for 35 miles?
A pencil with him.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. Speaking at a Harvard University event today, Fed Chair Jerome Powell reiterated that rates are in a good place and that he doesn't see contagion in the private credit markets at this point. Powell also once again noted that tariffs are a one-time pass-through impact and that inflation would be closer to 2% without them. General Motors is upping its heavy-duty truck production at the Flint assembly plant to 6 days a week starting in June. The reason is continued strong demand for the vehicles, despite gas and diesel prices surging. The report in the Wall Street Journal says it will increase the number of vehicles produced at that facility, Chevy Silverados and GMC Sierras, to 1,100 per week. Wall Street started out the day sharply higher, gave back most of those gains. Dow Industrials ended up 49 points at 45,216. NASDAQ lost 153, and the S&P 500 was down 25. Crude oil up 3.25% to $102.88 a barrel. And that's Your Money Now.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. If you go online to MorelliTuckPointing.com, they're a great masonry company here in St. Louis, and they have posted on part of the website some of the favorite projects that they've done, and they're showing you, I like to call it the little swipey thing, the before and after from so many homes, chimneys, mailboxes, things that were falling apart, very unsightly, maybe some brick patios, things like that. Well, they can fix all that for you, and they can do it in expert fashion. They're the best here in St. Louis. They've been doing it for 3+ decades, family-owned and operated, and really, really anything relating to masonry services, they have you covered. That's tuck pointing, stone foundation repair, spot pointing with color match, waterproofing, chimney repair, caulking, and brickwork. And if you'd like a free estimate, they've been doing this since 1991. It's just a phone call away. 314-645-1387. John and Cindy also have a great website. Really, everything, the email address and everything is up there as well. If you just go to MorelliTuckPointing.com. If you need tuck pointing work or any masonry work in St. Louis, it's really the only place to turn. They're the best. MorelliTuckPointing.com.
I'm here with my friend Stewie. And, Stuart, I know a lot of people are talking about lowering their monthly payments with their mortgage, but there are other smart ways to save lots more dollars, like maybe going to a shorter loan. What about this tug of war between the president and the Fed? Rates going down, maybe going up. What do people need to know right now?
All right, Annie, you know what's going on in the government. It's causing interest rates to go down. Now, this is a great opportunity. A lot of people call us all the time and say, hey, what's the rate? I can lower my payment. I can do better cash flow. And I understand that. Quality of life is having more money in your pocket so you can enjoy life overall. But have you thought about going from a 30-year to a 20-year mortgage? Interest rates on a 30-year mortgage are higher than interest rates on a 20. Maybe convert the 30 to a 20, keep the payment about the same, and save hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Call 314-324-4440 or text 314-324-4440 and ask Stewie about the bagel loan. Google the bagel loan, NMLS number 226715.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
433, this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
From Collinsville to Chesterfield, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Sue, as I started the show, I was talking about the great sports weekend, and one thing that I highlighted, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit more in the next hour, is Gary Woodland's comeback. Gary had brain cancer, had brain surgery, has had a lot of PTSD, issues with anxiety, etc. He just won his first PGA Tour event in like 6 or 7 years after this big comeback. But one of the things that he talked about, and I'll have some of this audio in the next hour, is his PTSD, and some of the things that he's gone through. Now, we know for sure that probably the number one group out there that has PTSD are troops, certainly, that have been in combat, and you police officers, I think firefighters, first responders as well. Tracy McQuarrie is a Democrat senator from the St. Louis area. She's been on the roundtable a couple of times before. She's proposing legislation that will enable research to conduct some trials on the efficacy of some alternative medicine and therapies for treatment. And I've talked about this a little bit with a substance called Ibogaine. The director of the Missouri Health Coalition, Dena Ladd, is with us this afternoon to talk about this. It's a tough topic because it's horrifying to me that some of these men and women are either committing suicide or considering suicide. But Dena, how are you this afternoon? Oop, I don't think I punched her in.
Today.
There you go. Sorry about that. That was my fault. Let me ask that question again. How are you this afternoon?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on your show.
Well, I appreciate it. We kind of highlight this in an unfortunate way because, look, we have like a rather high suicide rate in the state of Missouri, even when it compares to the national average, don't we?
Yeah, we're number 15. Missouri's number 15 for veteran suicides. And every day in our country, 20 veterans take their life.
And is there, obviously these are people who are very mentally tortured, right? They've gone through things, they've maybe experienced things, they've seen things that most of us will never have to see, and they're just not getting the proper help. That's always been a concern, even outside of this type of, diagnoses with veterans. I remember, and I've shared this story, one time I went to a VA hospital, Dena, this was in Columbia, Missouri, back in the mid-'80s, and it was a horrifying experience. It was in really, really bad shape. This was a time where the VA hospitals were in the news a lot, and I think there was an effort to do something about it. But I'm still kind of shocked at how much we maybe don't pay attention to some of these issues related to veterans and first responders.
Yeah, unfortunately, veterans and first responders, especially veterans, are referred to a talk therapist. They're put on antidepressants. They turn to alcohol, and those treatments are not working. And so that is why it's so important to get the psilocybin clinical trial bill passed in Missouri. So I am the founder of the Modern Health Coalition, and our mission is really to support legislation and policies so that we can encourage the psychedelic research and education. And the coalition is made up of veterans, law enforcement, researchers from Washington U, from University of Missouri, and these are people who are so passionate to get this done for our veterans and our first responders here in the state.
So you may have heard me mention in the intro Ibogaine. I have been interested in this. I read this piece that Rick Perry, the former governor of Texas, wrote in the Washington Post last year. I've had several guests talking about Ibogaine, even research here in Missouri, encouraging along these lines money to enable the research. So is Ibogaine included in this? Because you mentioned psilocybin. That's, I think along the lines of microdosing. Psilocybin mushrooms is what people might be familiar with. But is that separate from Ibogaine, or would it be included here as well?
So there's two separate bills. One is for Ibogaine, which is shown to help addiction issues. And I had the pleasure of meeting Governor Perry. He's passionate about this. He's getting it done in Texas. He's getting it done around the country. Currently, there is no Ibogaine research in the United States, but that is why Rick Perry is pushing that. I feel, and the coalition feels, that if we could get the psilocybin clinical trial bill passed in our state and take the same playbook that Texas did, they got the psilocybin clinical trial bill passed in 2021. Last year in 2025, they got the Ibogaine clinical trial bill passed because there is clinical trials going on with psilocybin, and we want that to happen in Missouri. And then we want to show and have the FDA approve regulated therapies so that our Missouri veterans and first responders can have that happen.
And that makes sense.
Those therapies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I want to have you on is because I believe in this stuff. And I think we're at the point, we're well past the point where these, men and women, they need some solutions. And if we have solutions that are working, and I've always said this about a lot of these, topics, whether it's psilocybin or cannabis, THC, et cetera. Look, there are, and believe it or not, I'm on some of these medications. They're very powerful medications that are approved by the FDA, that doctors prescribe on a regular basis, that have really bad side effects, that can affect people in negative ways. We see the drug commercials all the time, but there's this stigma when it comes to some of this stuff that is new, that is innovative, that may be connected to a drug culture. But the research really, Dena, does show that there's a lot of advantages to some of this stuff. It's not just pulled out of thin air. And again, these are people that really have their lives turned around when they're otherwise tortured and on the verge of suicide.
Absolutely. And it's not fair. We should not have our veterans have to go out of the country for these treatments. We need to get these approved. They need to be provided to our veterans who served our country and to our first responders. And I can tell you, surprisingly, they debated the psilocybin clinical trial on the House floor last week.
Okay.
There was no one that opposed it.
That's good. I like to hear that, right?
Yeah, so it's great. So we're really hopeful that we're going to get this done in the legislative session this year. I encourage your listeners to reach out to your legislators and ask them to support the legislation. And also, if you go to the modernhealthcoalition.org, the bills are on the website, and it also shows you what other states are doing in that area.
And don't take this the wrong way. I'm so glad you came on here with me, Dena. But one of the people that I'd like to talk to is Trey Warren, and he was a guy who was a Top Gun 13-year instructor. He flew F-14s and F-A-18s, but he tried to commit suicide 3 times after combat duty. And he's a guy that really discovered the benefits of the alternative medicine, right?
He is a rock star. Yes, he's on my advisory board for the coalition. He walks the halls of the Capitol. He tells his story. It is so, so powerful. And thank goodness he's open about that because he has TBI, traumatic brain injury. He's had depression, anxiety. Yes, he was suicidal 3 times. And now he is, through these medicines, he is healthy again, working full time, and very passionate to get this legislation passed. So I would encourage you to have him on your show. He is amazing.
Yeah, we're going to try to get him on for sure. But I'm glad that you came on this afternoon to kind of kick this off and highlight it a little bit. But that's good. I'm encouraged to hear that the legislature is on top of this and moving in the right direction because I think it's important.
It is important. And so we hope to get it voted out of the House and move it on to the Senate. And as you said, Senator Tracy McCreary is co-sponsoring it along with Senator Rick Bratton, who is a veteran. So we have a Republican sponsor and a Democrat sponsor. So we're very hopeful.
Awesome. Good luck with it. And keep me posted, okay?
Okay, thank you,
All right,
Mark.
take care. Cusumano's coming up here in a couple of minutes. We're going to give him a few extra because, my goodness, we have a lot of sports to talk about. The Cardinals won their series against the Rays. Yesterday didn't go quite as well as we had hoped. But, look, you win 2 out of 3. That's how you do well. The Blues, Sue, the Blues are one of the best stories in all of sports right now.
I love this so much.
It's unreal. The Final Four is set. Illinois is going to the Final Four. They could win it all. They look really good over the weekend. The Battlehawks had a home opener. I care nothing about that because it's fake football, but we may touch on it anyway. And then I mentioned the Gary Woodland story. And I'm going to get into that with Dan Reardon a little bit. At 5:30, we're going to talk about Tiger and what happened last week and what this portends for his future. And then, maybe juxtapose that a little bit with this great story about Gary Woodland because his recovery and the way that he went on to win this Houston Open over the weekend is really, really inspirational and incredible. And I have some really good audio to play from that as well. Also, in the next hour, Josh Hammer will be with us. He hosts the Josh Hammer Show Saturdays at 1 p.m. on 97.1 FM Talk. You'll love this, Sue. I have a piece. I'm hopefully going to get to this at 5:20. We tried to get Evan Gardner on the show. He was not interested. Sometimes you get these print people who don't like to do radio interviews.
Yeah, I get that.
They're not, if
it
they're
makes
not.
them nervous.
Right, and I'd rather not have them if they're not comfortable doing it anyway. But we need to see more stories like this. So what he did is he did this investigation into the GLP-1s, Ozempic. So the headline is they went on Ozempic and they gave up on life. So he talks about how, this kills your desire to eat, but they can also stop you from wanting to do anything at all. And it's rather sad when you hear the details in this story. So we'll get to that in the 5 o'clock hour. Plus, an audio cut of the day.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We have a serious jam going on westbound 44. First of all, it's slowing at 270. And then right after the Merrimack River, you hit a jam. And this is all due to an accident past 141 that has been blocking the 2 right lanes. Well, this is jamming up southbound 141 drivers trying to make that merge. So that is the worst of it right now. Also an accident, southbound 270 at 44 in the right lane, southbound 270 at 70. That in the left lane. Accident eastbound 70 at Highway T. That one in the right lane. And there was another slow go. Well, I guess it's just the usual volume. Westbound 6440, it's Kings Highway out through McCausland and again at Clarkson, west of Winghaven out through 70. Now, they cleared that accident westbound 70 at 270. Still some moderate volume from there on out. And we've got 55 really slow headed down toward just the Bates area, a little bit slow at 141. If you're headed into Illinois, we look fine on the Poplar, but slow eastbound 70 at 64. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Sponsored by Gloria Lou with your home sold guaranteed realty 314-325-6888.
Need to sell your home and you want the most money? The name to remember is Gloria Lou. Yes, Gloria Lou with your home sold guaranteed realty at 314-325-6888 and start packing.
Well, the stock market is a little stagnant right now. You might have noticed that. But if you're on the cusp of retirement, don't panic. I want to get you with the team at the Retirement Advisory Group. They're going to sit down with you, make you feel a lot better about the situation that you're in right now. Look, the market's going to go back and forth. They're going to teach you some strategies that you might not be familiar with. Of course, if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan, your 401k, and create a worry-free retirement. So if you want some strategies that give you the market growth but protect you from market losses, safely linking to the market. Most of the people that meet with Thomas and the team, they have the same question. What can we do with this money so we can live comfortably the rest of their lives? Well, first they develop a strategy to protect your nest egg from any market losses. That's important. Then they build your own personalized retirement income plan that will generate you an income the rest of your life. So they put you in control of your money. I've had people who are clients of Thomas tell me he doesn't tell you what to do. He gives you great advice. And it's a worry-free retirement. RetirementKey.com to find out more about the Retirement Advisor Group.
2026 is an election year, and 97.1 FM Talk will be your home for every twist and turn in the 2026 midterms. 97.1 FM Talk. Keep it here for radio coverage that's 25 years strong.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit throttlenet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
Public schools, like public libraries, should be free and open to all. Open enrollment allows parents to choose the school that's the best fit for their children. Maybe another school has a wider curriculum, is bigger or smaller. Maybe a kid is being bullied and would be more comfortable at another school. 75% of parents favor open enrollment. Open enrollment programs now exist in 43 states, and Missouri should join them. Our next-door neighbor, Kansas, has one of the strongest open enrollment policies in the nation. Kansas parents are trusted with choices and options, while Missouri parents must move out of their home to change public schools. And it's a trend. Nationwide, the percentage of students going to their chosen public school has steadily increased. Assigning kids to schools based on their zip code is the old way. Open enrollment is a better way. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Did you know replacing old vinyl windows with more vinyl windows might not be the best choice? Hi, it's Kim, and I'm here to tell you about Infinity from Marvin Windows, because these fiberglass windows, they're energy efficient, they're beautiful, and they're custom built to fit your home perfectly. The team at Lakeside Renovation and Design just makes the process so easy. I love the fact that they even offer a lifetime workmanship warranty. Look, if you're tired of drafts, high energy bills, or maybe hard to open windows, now's the time to upgrade. Visit windowsbylakeside.com to schedule your free consultation today.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it with a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Living rooms, family rooms, man caves, garages, I don't care where you were. If you were watching that Duke-UConn game and you weren't calling the game for Duke, you were a lot more excited than these guys, but holy moly.
Get it in, they do for Boozer. Bobbled it, back for Sarr, needs to get rid of it, does for Caden. 7 seconds, trying to throw it ahead, deflected, stolen by Connecticut. 2 seconds, it's Mullins up top for the win. Oh, he hit it. With 0.3 of a second to go. Malachi Smith ran off the bench. That should be a technical.
It was not a technical. It was a great game-winning shot. And, oh, my gosh, that's why we call it March Madness, Frank Cusumano. That was incredible. And I didn't care either of those teams, but I watched it because it kept getting tighter and tighter, and that was an amazing finish.
That had to have been a Duke broadcaster to react like that.
It was.
Celebrating the greatest shot in the history of the NCAA tournament. And the thing about it is, this Mullins was 0 for 4 from three-point range. He was 4 of 23 from three-point range in the tournament. But you know, a skinny white kid from Indiana is not going to UConn unless he can really shoot it. And he's got a beautiful stroke. He just hasn't shot it well lately. Anyway, I also want to throw out Terrace Reed Jr., the pride of Chaminade High School, turned into freaking Moses Malone with 27 points, 9 rebounds, 4 blocks. He is a beast and a monster. He's the reason they're going to the Final Four.
Well, it was really a fun weekend overall. Even in that game, I was watching it. It was a blowout for a while. It kept getting tighter and tighter than the miraculous finish. But, Frank, you know this. I'm a Mizzou guy, but I said as early as December, and I think it was before the bragging rights game, that I felt like Illinois was a Final Four team. Like an idiot, I didn't wager on that, but I knew these guys were good enough, and I don't know if they can win it all because I know how good Michigan and Arizona and UConn are, but they certainly have a shot, and good for the Illini.
Absolutely. And look, when you're the tallest team in America, and when you are one of the most skilled teams in America, and you have a lottery pick, you should be playing basketball in April, and that's what they'll do on Saturday at 5 o'clock in Indianapolis against UConn. I'm really thrilled for Illinois. It's their first Final Four trip, of course, since the last time they came to St. Louis in 2005.
Yeah, that's amazing. Brad Underwood has only been there 9 years. He's built quite a program.
Frank, it feels like everything that's gone on with Josh Ertz and SLU has been a roller coaster, but it looks like he's going to be staying after, I guess, taking an interview for North Carolina State. What's the latest that you're hearing on Schertz remaining in SLU?
Well, so we talked on Saturday I was actually at the driving range, and I had one eye on my phone hoping for a return call and one eye on the golf ball. It probably is the reason why I hit him so poorly. But he did admit that he did meet with NC State people, and it created this storm. And, I heard from some very prominent St. Louis U alumni that were very upset. How could you do that? He signed the contract on Sunday, and you're talking with another school 5 or 6 days later. But, like, in life, that seems like it's almost immoral. But in college basketball, to quote a line from Bruce Hornsby, that's just the way it is. And the good news is, hey, the bottom line is in sports, you want to either win or lose. In coaching, you want to either keep your coach or not keep your coach, and you kept your coach. He's staying here. But it's a fact of life that if you're at a mid-major and you have an historical season, schools are going to come after you. But as of yesterday, he called Chris May at 1 o'clock, said, I'm staying. He had a recruit in town later on, and he's trying to retain his big six. So it's a win, although there was a little bit of drama we didn't need.
Speaking of retaining, Ethan said this. Trent Pierce has agreed to return to Mizzou. He's a 6'10 junior and did quite well this year, so I'm glad to hear that. I want to talk about the Cardinals, but my goodness, we have to talk about the Blues, don't we?
Yeah, Anthony Robinson, by the way, is in the portal, so he's leaving Mizzou. But go ahead.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that. That's not the best news. The Blues, they still have a shot here, don't they?
Mark, their percentages of making the playoffs are like gas prices. They're going up by the day. It's now up to 18%. And if they win tonight in San Jose, and they're battling with San Jose, they go up even more. Nashville lost last night. They are 11-2-2 since the Olympic break, and their goaltending is just unbelievable. It doesn't matter if it's Hofer or Binnington. You're getting a great outing almost every game now.
Frank, everyone, I mean, we all were amazed watching what happened at the end of last year. And I think throughout all of this, there's been, I think, some hope, some belief that at some point they're going to turn it around. We all said to each other, I think on this show, it's not going to happen. This is not the same team. And now we're all watching it before our eyes saying, is it going to happen again? I mean, how such similar situations happening in back-to-back years is absolutely astonishing. It has to be one of the more unique things in hockey history if St. Louis gets it done.
Yeah, it would be. And it's still a long shot as we speak. But how about this? The fact that, like, Colton Parayko said, no, I'm not going to leave St. Louis. I mean, how big a role that could have in the Blues possibly making the postseason. So a lot of crazy things going on right now, but they're playing so well in front of the goaltenders. Robert Thomas looks like the best center in the league for the last couple of weeks.
On the baseball front, Keith Hernandez is in town, I believe. The Cardinals taking on the Mets. They win 2 of 3 from the Rays. A lot of runs scored by both teams. Any concern about that middle relief at this point that was supposed to be so good?
Yeah, that bullpen has an ERA of 11.
Ooh.
But that's the only dent in their armor. I mean, when you see that you have Nolan Gorman hitting 300, Jordan Walker hitting 400, and Victor Scott hitting 500. 3 guys, you had no idea. Now, look, it's only 3 games, but with those 3, you really needed them to come out of the gates doing really well. And you've gotten 2 really good starting pitching performances, a spectacular one by McGreevy and a good one by Libator. I think we can live with it. You win 2 out of 3, you're going to have a hell of a year.
Well, look, this is pretty comfortable. A lot of the problems I have with early season baseball is it's too damn cold to watch a baseball game. We're not going to have that issue this week, are we?
No, it's really cool. I'll never complain about it being too hot. Give me too hot rather than too cold.
I'm with you, Frank. Thank you so much. We'll talk on Friday. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you. We'll come back here. We have Josh Hammer at the beginning of the hour. I do want to get into this Ozempic piece that I read over the weekend in the Free Press, which was really good. Dan Reardon's going to talk about Tiger Woods' DUI situation, the Gary Woodland comeback, which is amazing as well. Plus, we have audio cut of the day and more.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We have a serious jam on westbound 44. There was an accident past 141. They've had the 2 right lanes blocked for a long time. And we've got a parking lot that goes back to 270. Well, MoDOT reporting that they have reopened one of those lanes. So we only have 1 lane blocked, but it's going to take a while to unwind. And southbound 170 is just jammed because of this, and that starts south of Big Bend. Now, southbound 270, mainly moderate volume, but it's in pockets from Olive through Doherty Ferry, a little slow at Gravois. 55, just the usual volume, headed down toward Bates and 141. Westbound 64 lines up Kings Highway out through McCausland, and then we've got some moderate volume from the Interbelt out through 270 and a little bit out west. 370 is jammed at 141 tonight. That's due to road work. 70 westbound, some moderate volume headed for K. Looks good on the Poplar Street Bridge if you're headed into Illinois. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Honey, I found the one.
Oh, I thought I was the one.
Oh, you are, but this one's certified, background check, shows up on time, and can install all the ceiling fans.
Heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing. Trusted pros who do it right.
Well, we know this is the time of year in St. Louis, and unfortunately, I'm going to be reminded of this in a month, year anniversary, a month and a half from now, of the devastating tornado. But we know that, terrible weather, spring weather can knock down power lines, etc. We could get ice storms in St. Louis. I want to guide you into something that's going to give you peace of mind, and that's a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. These are high-quality generators. You have competitors that are, sometimes electricians, HVAC, or plumbing contractors that also sell generators. But Generator Supercenter, that's what they do. Just high-quality Generac generators. Sell, install, maintain. They monitor them. Certified service maintenance and warranty work. That's important. A lot of competitors will not or cannot offer certified service. It's just like your HVAC system, your car. You got to take good care of it, but you don't have to worry about your home when you're away. The power goes out, the Generac generator has you back up and running within seconds. Stop by the showroom for a free estimate. They're in the Airport Road on the Airport Road in Chesterfield, or call 314-499-2020. The website, GeneratorSupercenterofSt.Louis.com, GeneratorSupercenterofSt.Louis.com.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel, and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
Is your home, business, or church looking tired, chalky, or in need of curb appeal? Go Rhino. Tired of painting year after year? Go Rhino. Our unique 3M ceramic technology is perfect for brick, stucco, aluminum, steel, color lock masonite, and more. It's backed by our 25-year transferable warranty to not chip, crack, or peel. Great if you're staying, and even better if you're selling. Our ceramic coating allows you to maintain all of your architectural features. The decision to do vinyl will leave your home looking like a plastic moldy box. With Rhino Shield, in 15 years, your home will still have that, wow, it looks like you just got it painted. We've done large condo complexes, parking garages, pole barns, and commercial strip malls. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. Evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump says if talks fail, the U.S. could go after Iran's infrastructure.
The president says if Iran does not reach a deal with the U.S. to end the war and reopen the Strait of Hormuz, he could order attacks on electric plants, oil wells, and desalinization facilities.
Their best move is to make a deal, or else the United States Armed Forces has capabilities beyond their wildest imagination.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the administration and the U.S. military will act lawfully. Targeting civilian sites is widely considered a violation of international law. President Trump extended a deadline last week to strike energy facilities as a result of ongoing talks with Iranian regime figures.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. This as Spain is closing its airspace to U.S. planes involved in the Iran conflict. Earlier, Spain said the U.S. couldn't use its jointly operated military bases, which caused President Trump to threaten to cut trade with Madrid. The FBI says the man who crashed his truck into a Detroit area synagogue earlier this month was inspired by the Iran-backed group Hezbollah. It says Ayman Ghazali made a video before the attack at Temple Israel, ramming his truck into the building and hitting a security guard before shooting and killing himself.
His death was just a means or a tool to kill as many Jews as he could. That's why his last statements were that he was on a special operation to kill as many of them as he possibly can.
U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan, Jerome Gorgon, none of the children who were attending daycare or any other staffers were hurt. Wall Street, the major indexes ended the day mixed, and oil prices rose because of the uncertainty over the Iran conflict. The Dow gained 49, the Nasdaq lost 153, the S&P off 25. America is listening to Fox News.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZzzQuil Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZzzQuil Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday. Let's do this Monday. ZzzQuil Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Hard to tell. It is late March as the summer pattern continues. Partly cloudy, breezy, and warm. Upper 70s this evening. 67 for the low. Tuesday, partly sunny, windy, and warm. Primarily a dry day, but there could be a spot shower or thunder shower late in the afternoon. 86 for the high. The record's 87. Periods of rain and a couple of thunderstorms Tuesday night. 60. That's the pattern, an unsettled weather pattern. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, we are getting moving here on our third hour. I told you this last week, so it's so much more fun to be sitting here in the studio and it's 5 o'clock and look out the window and it's not about to become dark. You know, I know it's only been a couple of weeks since we sprung forward, but it is very nice to have sunlight when we wrap up the day. And you got out early. Did you take a bike ride earlier?
I did.
Yeah, it's pretty nice out there.
It's really nice.
It's windy, but pretty nice. Oh, you were talking about doing a little fire at your new fire pit. Did you do that as well?
It was fantastic.
Yeah, I had a pretty good one on Friday night for sure. So that was fun. As you know, I'm
you're a pyro.
I am an avowed pyro.
Yes.
Josh Hammer is back with us this afternoon. You hear his show on the weekends on Saturdays, 1 p.m. on 97.1 FM Talk. Newsweek senior editor-at-large. Josh, how are you? Welcome back to the show. Hope all is well.
Mark, it's always a pleasure. I am mourning my Duke Blue Devils save, but otherwise all is well,
I forgot about that. I'm sorry, dude, but you know what? That was a hell of a finish, wasn't it? You don't see it the same way that we do.
Suffice to say, I don't know.
Oh, my God. Okay, we'll move on. That would have been painful for me, too. Look, my team can't even get there. So, Missouri, we're just hoping that they can win a game in the NCAA tournament from now until the end of eternity. Where are we on Operation Epic Fury at this point, in your opinion? Carolyn had a briefing earlier today. The president still seemingly indicates that the military aspect of this is still within, the next couple of weeks of being finished. But your thoughts? I know you've had some people on your show even this week talking about this issue.
Yeah, Mark, this is kind of the question that I have been personally, both privately and publicly on my show, grappling with ever since the war started. I mean, it's very difficult to say how things are going and where things need to go unless you first define exactly what the objectives are. It's crucial to first say what you're for. And by the way, I actually am slightly critical of President Trump, who otherwise has handled this conflict magnificently. But I thought at the very beginning of the war, in the first 48 to 72 hours or so, that he really should have sat down in one of those solemn Oval Office, resolute desk, look into the camera, and just tell the American people, like, here's what we're doing here. I mean, here are the goals, here are the missions. And look, I mean, it falls to people like us to explain exactly to the American people what the objectives are. And here is, insofar as it goes, what I think that is, which is, I think that the goal here is to neutralize the Islamic Republic of Iran as a threat to the United States and their interests. That to me is the objective Operation Epic Fury. Now, it's gone amazingly in the first month of the war. Iran today is seriously defanged relative to 4.5-5 weeks ago. Now, it's not over yet. How do I know that? Because taken on its own terms, with the objective that I just stipulated, they're still firing stuff. They're still firing missiles, drones. It's really dwindled, to be clear. But these guys still have missiles that they're sending not just at Israel, but basically all the Arab countries in the region. So Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, UAE, Kuwait, Oman, you name it. In fact, just last weekend, they launched one 2,500 miles at Diego Garcia, the shared U.S.-UK military base in the middle of the Indian Ocean. So unless and until their arsenal is essentially just donezo, totally depleted, and also the enriched uranium. Let's not forget that we have to make sure that they can't get a nuke. That's one of the entire reasons that we're in there in the first place, is their nuclear aspiration. So there's currently hundreds of kilograms of enriched uranium that have not been secured yet. So unless and until these objectives are met, I do not think the job is done. I don't think that we have to wait, or frankly even should wait, until there is something resembling full-scale, quote-unquote, regime change. Frankly, that's not going to happen. I think that would be an irresponsible goal to put into place there. But at least unless and until the arsenal is depleted, fully depleted, and the enriched uranium is secure there, I think the job must continue at least until that happens.
But it sounded to me, look, I've been a bit of an outlier on this thing in the last couple of weeks, because I'm extremely concerned about the way that it's going. I know militarily we're smoking them, right? But I don't see the concrete plans moving forward, which is why I agree with you when you said I wish the president would have kind of gone before the American people and stated those goals. I mean, let's face it, we haven't heard too much from J.D. Vance in the last few weeks, have we? And, I think we know why that is. So I think if we can get this done in the next couple of weeks, we get a little bit of return to normalcy. And obviously, your point about the uranium is because otherwise, why are we doing this overall? But I also hear, and maybe I'm hearing this inaccurately, but are you a little nervous about the way that this is playing out right now?
Well, the politics of it potentially threaten to get dicey.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. I mean, I don't think that we are there quite yet, but the longer that this goes on, definitely the dicier that it gets as we get closer to midterms. The one thing that I will say that should not happen is some sort of large-scale boots-on-the-ground deployment. That I think would be seriously a mistake. And the good news is that I don't think there's really any chance that that's going to happen. You're not going to see the 101st Airborne, 82nd Airborne, whatever, just start marching from the Persian Gulf all the way to Tehran. To the extent that there will be any boots on the ground, which I'm not even sure there will be, but if it happens, it will be essentially just an attempt to secure Karg Island and various other small islands there near the Strait of Hormuz. It's not even obvious to me that will happen, but at some point you're going to have to define what the end goals are in order to justify some sort of off-ramp. Again, I don't think we're there yet, Mark, but the longer this drags on, it definitely will crowd out domestic issues.
Look, I always have to be fair in these situations, and one of the things I've said in the last couple of weeks is if I had someone who had campaigned who was a Democrat and said we're not going to get involved in foreign wars, we're going to lower gas prices and inflation, and then some of the exact opposite happen. And also, let's say Joe Biden or Kamala Harris was president, dropped bombs on Iran last summer. We obliterated the nuclear program. Well, apparently we didn't obliterate the nuclear program. So I know that if some of the same things were happening with a different party and the Republicans on the other side, that there would be complaints that would be made that some of the Democrats are making. I just have to be fair on that, which is why I have this concern politically. I think it was courageous that he did this. If this is going to save, a good portion of the planet, including our country, from this devastating regime, which we know how, I've got a guy that I've gotten to know really well here, Rocky Sickman. He was one of the original Iranian hostages, Josh, and his story is amazing. He can tell you firsthand how he wants this regime to change. But to your point, this is dicey, man. You get into geopolitics like this, you start dropping bombs, you don't know what forces are coming together. You got an enemy that's also bombing their allies or their neighbors. It's very, very strange situation. And then we still have the situation in Israel. And I think there were bomb sirens that went off in Israel even earlier today.
Oh, yeah, look, the situation in Israel is still dicey. Frankly, the UAE, actually, the Emirates, has actually gotten more missile and drones than Israel by something of a 2 to 3 to 1 margin, actually. So, I mean, a lot of the Arab countries, in addition to Israel, have just continued to get slack, which again is why the Iranian arsenal it's just not done yet. It's been defanged, but it's definitely not depleted. Now, look, the price of oil, we can't ignore that as well. Last I checked, it was well over $100 a barrel, and this is definitely not something that Donald Trump wants to deal with. The average price of gasoline has gone up by about $1 or so. But look, I know it sounds kind of naive, maybe even utopian, Mark, but I guess I will say that I think Donald Trump actually genuinely did this because he thinks that it is the right thing to do. Like, I actually don't think that he was poll testing this. I don't think that he called in his pollers to say which way is the wind blowing.
Oh, I agree. I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that it can go on forever. It absolutely can't. But I think that he is genuinely leading by conviction on this. And look, to the point that is a guy who campaigned against more wars. It's generally true. He clearly campaigned against more forever wars there. On the other hand, simultaneously, he's been outspoken against the Iranian regime literally since 1980, like a few months after the hostage crisis started under the Jimmy Carter presidency. There's this clip of him that I saw about a week ago or so ago of him calling on Carter to send in the American military to rescue the hostages and to essentially end the regime, to nip it in the bud before they really got going there. In a separate interview to The Guardian, the British paper, in 1988, he was calling to take Karg Island near the Strait of Hormuz. He, of course, famously pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal the first time around, took out Qasem Soleimani. He basically hates the Iranian regime, and he's been very, very outspoken about that. So we can try to reconcile that the best that we can there. The way that I see it is that I don't think that Donald Trump is starting a new forever war. I think that he is simply the guy who refuses to kick the can down the road any longer, and that he is soberly recognizing that Iran is actually already at war against us.
I respect that. But to your point, I think the messaging it could be better, and he can say that and maybe continue to say that here because this is not over. All right, Josh Hammer with us this afternoon. You were at CPAC last week, right? You're usually there.
I was.
Was CPAC, is the shine coming off CPAC just a little bit? Trump wasn't there, or what would you say about that before I get into the particulars of your messaging?
So, look, I think that the attendance at CPAC has been closely followed for some years now. It definitely was not what it used to be at this conference, but I feel like this has been a trend post-COVID, Mark. I feel like ever since 2021, it's been trending down. I thought this could be a time for CPAC to kind of reassert itself now that Charlie Kirk is tragically no longer with us, and that turning point is perhaps a little more uncertain. So I was kind of curious to see that for myself there. I'm not entirely sure I saw a huge CPAC momentum, but look, it's still a pretty big conference. I mean, it's all relatively speaking, of course.
So what was your message to the attendees at CPAC last week?
Well, Mark, I gave a speech last Thursday, and I was given 8 minutes, and I chose to try my best to not waste a single second. I wrote out a speech, which I typically don't do. I typically try to free-roll these things. My show is, of course, totally unscripted, but I really wanted to take advantage of this stage, of this platform. And I basically said that there is an anti-MAGA, frankly, there's actually also an anti-American insurrection from within the broader right-of-center fold. Mark, you and I have discussed Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, some of these other actors in the past. They both got shout-outs in my speech, as did Matt Gaetz.
Not positive ones, yes. They did get shout-outs, though, didn't they?
No, definitely not positive shout-outs. Matt Gaetz, I called him out. He actually spoke at the same conference there. And the reason that I care so much about this, Mark, is actually very simple. I'm a conservative. I'm obviously a man of the right. The way I view it is that America is the only force capable of saving Western civilization at this point. The Europeans definitely are not going to do it. That is for sure. And the American left is not going to save America. So the American right is the only force capable, actually, by extension, of actually saving Western civilization. And if we are overtaken by subversive fifth column, anti-American, anti-Western civilization actors, which a lot of these people actually are if you scratch deeply enough, then the whole ball game is done. So the stakes are really, really, really high. And that is why I'm so outspoken on this issue. Now, there was one very, very loud heckler at the very front of the room, but
Really?
I can tell you that most of the room was with me. There were way more people applauding and cheering and standing up. There was one very loud guy, and the audio kind of tends to make it seem like there were more of him, but it was just one guy standing directly stage right, saying some really funny things, frankly. I had a hard time not laughing at one or 2 points. But other than that, Mark, I've gotten amazing feedback, and I'm really happy that I did it.
Well, one thing that I know is, and I thank you because I know you always blast out these segments on your feed. I think I've told you this before. I am just shocked at the hatred, the vitriol, the anti-Semitism that appears on your feed that you have to deal with every day. It really, it's eye-opening in a terrible way. It's very shocking to me to see all that. And I see it whenever you're on my show just because you posted. But really, I can't believe that people are out there saying some of the things they are. But I guess that's what social media does to you.
That's what social media does. A lot of it is also bot activity, so let's not forget a lot of this is actually not human. Some of it clearly is. But a lot of it is out there, and that's actually one of the reasons that I wanted to speak at CPAC, Mark, was I wanted to kind of test and see how much of this was organic and how much of it was actually in the room. I can tell you they polled various of these issues. The Iran war polled, I think a 90-10 pro-war sentiment in terms of the crowd there gathered at CPAC. They also asked a question about Israel. They essentially said, is Israel an ally or not? Very similar margin. It was like 87-13, 90-10, something very similar to that there. So very, very pro-Israel crowd. A very Persian crowd. This is actually fascinating. There's a huge Persian diaspora presence at this particular conference. In fact, when you actually drove up to the Gaylord Texan there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there were these massive, massive signs outside showing Trump, Netanyahu, and Reza Pahlavi, the old exiled crown prince, together there. And there was a lot of flying of the old pre-1979 Iran flag. So I'm not sure. That's ton of it. So I'm not sure if there are that many Persians native in North Texas, but maybe some of them traveled to it there. But that definitely, I think, was the overall theme of the conference. Less so these pretty crappy hecklers.
Well, that's good. I like to hear that, and I know you can watch the speech on your Twitter feed as well. So thank you, Josh Hammer. We'll hear your show 1 p.m. Saturdays, 97.1 FM Talk. Have a great week.
You too, Mark.
All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
If you are a westbound 44 driver, things are looking better, but we still have a slow go. Approaching 270 to a point just a little east of 141. Southbound 141 jams at 44. We've got some slow-moving traffic, but it's the usual. On westbound 6440, Kings Highway out through McCausland. Eastbound is slow on either side of 170. Then westbound has some volume at Lindbergh, and eastbound jams at 270. Out west, 70 isn't bad. There was some moderate volume westbound at K. 64 is a little slower. That's Highway N out through the 70 split. 55 jams at Bates. It's also slow at 141, both due to road work. Things are fine on the Poplar, but slow coming off the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge due to road work there. This report brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Annie here, and I can proudly say no more spiders in my home. I use Point Pest Control 4 times a year, and I haven't seen any, not a single one, since they've been in my home. Mention Annie and get 10% on top of any other special. Point Pest Control, 636-798-0023.
So many fun things happening right now at the Missouri Athletic Club. There's a really cool event for you that I want to guide you into at the end of April. But right now, in a couple of weeks, it's my birthday, by the way. Maybe I should take this day off. On the 13th at the Downtown Clubhouse, Magic Johnson is going to be be there. It's for the annual College Basketball Awards banquet, and this is an incredible event. He's going to get the Dean Smith Award. You're also going to have the men and women's Freshman of the Year, Player of the Year, Coach of the Year following this season. It's right after March Madness wraps up April 13th at the Downtown Clubhouse. Now, the other one that I wanted to point to, just because this kind of fits our audience for sure, is they're doing something on a Tuesday, a little later in April, on the 28th downtown, that you can hear from inside the prosecutor's office. So MAC members, if you register for this, you go to the Downtown Clubhouse that day, you're going to hear from Catherine Hanaway. Not only is she a number one Mark Reardon Show, Sue Thomas fan, but she's the Attorney General of Missouri. She'll be there. Thomas Albus is the U.S. Attorney for this district. Gabe Gore, the Circuit Attorney, and the U.S. Attorney for the Western District, Matthew Price, will also be there. And they're going to talk about crime and reducing crime and some of the things that are happening in each of their offices. It's another great example of how the MAC really does great work here in St. Louis. And you can always find out more at mac-stl.org today for the Missouri Athletic Club.
Hi, I'm Jane Pushkar.
I'm Lauren Greenwood.
I'm David Jaworski. We're running for the Francis House School Board with an important message. It's time to stop wasteful spending and focus on what's most important, our children's education.
I'm running because I believe in parental rights.
I'm running because our children's future depends upon conservative involvement.
Together, we can make a huge difference. It's critical that you vote conservative on April the 7th for Pushkar, Greenwood, and Jaworski. We're number 1, 2, and 3 on the ballot.
Paid for by Francis Howe Families, Allie Beardsley, Treasurer.
Hey, it's Mark Cox. Take your lawn from good to great with my friends at Lawn Enforcement. I'm talking expert lawn care services to keep your lawn in order. And here's what they'll do for you. Anybody can mow your grass. At Lawn Enforcement, they want to enhance your property. They'll do the mowing and the trimming. They'll fertilize and implement a weed control program and erosion control, which includes retaining walls if you need it. They can landscape. They can design and install your flowers, your shrubs, your trees, all of your hardscapes. No project is too big or too small for my friends at Lawn Enforcement. You can check them out online at yourlawnenforcement.com. So instead of envying your neighbor's lawn, your neighbors are going to be wishing they had the lawn and landscape that you have. Go ahead and enjoy your space. Be proud when you entertain your friends and your family. They've been in business for over 30 years. Be sure and tell them Mark Cox sent you. Go to yourlawnenforcement.com.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, I always try to get the people that write interesting pieces that I'm interested in to get them as a guest on the show. Some people don't like to be radio guests, and that usually means they're not good radio guests, so we're okay with that. Yes. But I bring it up because Evan Gardner, I'm not familiar with him. He writes about health and self-improvement at the Free Press, and I'm a rather big fan of the Free Press, which is the FP.com. Free Press is not like the New York Times, the Washington Post, and some of the other papers, mainly because it's not as biased, but also they're not churning out as many stories on a daily basis like those publications. They're very different. So a story that might end up on the front page of the Free Press might be there for a few days, and you have spot reporting on issues in columns. So Evan Gardner is the one who did this, and this is on Ozempic. But the headline is, they went on Ozempic and gave up on life. And he tells the story of Kim Francis, who in June of 2023 did something that 10 years ago would not have been, thinkable. But now, as an American, it's as American as apple pie, right? She shot herself up with Ozempic, praying it would change her life. So Kim says that her blood sugar was out of control, her weight was out of control, and yet despite her worsening arthritis and type 2 diabetes, she still craved food. She also craved alcohol and was beginning to worry that her drinking habits were unhealthy. And just like that, one shot took it all away. Her daily drink turned into one a month. Her chronic joint pain vanished. She dropped 25 pounds. Ozempic didn't just improve her health, it gave her choices to do things in life that she says she wasn't doing before, like going to the gym. She was finally sleeping through the night. These all sound good, right? But what he says, Evan says, when we spoke recently, She said she wasn't sure Ozempic had made her life better. She says, my mind and my day-to-day is kind of gray. She says in the first 48 hours after she injects herself, which is every week, the emotional impact is almost unbearable. I just feel worthless. Have you heard this about these drugs?
Wow, I hadn't.
I had not either. So what he says in this piece is that's kind of the trade-off for some of these people. You don't want to be involved in life for 2 or 3 days every week. So that's kind of crazy when you think about it, and that's why I wanted to pass it along to the audience. So GLP-1s are, as he writes in the Free Press, often portrayed as miracle drugs because they're incredibly effective in, treating obesity. 42% of Americans suffer from that. Study after study shows that they can stop food noise, help people drop as much as a fifth in their weight. I think we all know people that are probably on the pill that don't say they're on the pill that have, lost a dramatic amount of weight. And good for them if it's, helping them. Look, I can speak mildly from experience here only because when I was in high school, I was overweight. I weigh about 172 pounds right now. I weigh 208 at my top weight. I wear the husky sizes. And honest to God, my motivation to to lose weight was chicks. It really was. I graduated. I went to Spain my senior year in high school for a class trip that we did. I lost a lot of weight over there because I didn't, eat food and we were walking a lot. So that was my impetus that, summer before I was a freshman in college. But anyway, I've stayed at a pretty healthy weight, but I've had to work at it for my, my entire life. Okay. It's not just something that happens naturally. And sometimes I ebb and flow, but they also say that, this is something, these GLP-1s, they're finding out with the new research that they could be powerful enough to wipe out drug addiction too. For some people, it's wiped out their desire to gamble. For others, they no longer feel the desire to shop compulsively, right? But what Evan's point is here, at what cost? So 12% of Americans have now used them. It's a new enough phenomenon, he says, that we don't fully understand the side effects. But there's plenty of evidence that Kim, who we talked about at the beginning, is not alone. Though the conventional wisdom, as affirmed by a brand new study, is that Ozempic improves your mental health, likely because it reduces cravings and increases impulse control. Certain patients are reporting that GLP-1s dampen their feelings so much that the drugs completely blunt their desire to get what they want. I remember a lot of this. Now, look, I had a situation when my kids were younger with a diagnosis of my son Evan with ADHD. And there was an ex-wife situation at the time, and I wasn't quite on board with some of the diagnoses and the treatments and the drugs because, I think there were and there still are, some concerns about the generation that got hopped up on some of this medication and what the long-term effects will be, right? And I've also said that I'm pretty certain that if, those types of drugs were around when I was, Alexa's age or in the middle of the 1970s when I was torturing my elementary school teachers, I would have probably been suggested to be put on those drugs as well. But what he gets into here is that the weight loss drugs cause some people to lose interest in sex. There are rumors that have swirled that hedge funds, this is interesting, are starting to ban their traders from using these drugs because they obliterate motivation.
Wow.
So one post that I guess I didn't see this went viral on X said, you're not hungry for snacks, you're not hungry for profits, you lose your edge. Wow. And that's exactly what described Frances, because Frances, after getting on Ozempic, Kim, she watched everything that she once loved slip slowly away. Her drive to perform at work vanished. After 2 decades of hard work, she lost her job as a national account manager at a major flooring company. At the same time, she lost some of her closest friends and family because she was not interested in participating. At first, her libido spiked, but her new hot body brought her a boyfriend she loved, but soon she stopped wanting to have sex with him. Here I am with this much younger man who's ready to go. I would love to be matching that enthusiasm. She says it's frustrating. So she's 3 years into this, and she says, I really have to go out of my way to remember to be affectionate because I don't really feel it naturally. And she says it makes her feel bad because I have to fake it. But she says it's all worth it for a life free of insulin spikes. If a stranger hears this, they're like, just get off the drug.
Yeah.
But it's done so much for me, my blood sugar, my weight, I feel stuck with it. So that's interesting, though, because these things are becoming more and more popular. I made the reference to the ADHD drugs because those were some of the same complaints that were, people were calmer, but they weren't having as much creativity.
It's
they
a
weren't
trade-off.
as motivated. Yeah.
Yes, and everything's a trade-off. And part of the problem is if you're relying on a drug then to keep you thin and you haven't changed your lifestyle, you're just popping a pill.
Right. Well, and these are some of the same concerns I have with, some of the medication that I've been prescribed for anxiety, because there's all kinds of side effects that occur. I've been very, very lucky that I haven't had dramatic side effects from any of them. But yeah, that was an interesting piece because it kind of took us down a road on the GLP-1s that we haven't heard about. My guess is that there are a lot of relatability out there from people who are taking them. And there's got to be, I guarantee there's family members right now that heard this and they said, you know what, maybe that's going on with someone in my family. Evan Gardner is the one who wrote this at the Free Press. If you want to Google, they went on Ozempic and gave up on life, or just Google Ozempic and the Free Press, and that piece will come up. You might find it interesting.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Hey, on the roads, we've got some volume on the Illinois side. Eastbound 70 at 64, and also eastbound 64 at 157, both due to road work. 70 westbound, just some moderate volume headed out west. 64 is slower, and it's Kings Highway out through McCausland. Eastbound slowing at Big Bend and at Mason Road. Then you get a break and line up Highway N out through the 70 split. Still some moderate volume southbound 270, anywhere from Olive down through Gravois. 55, a little slow at Bates, also at 141. And there's some volume westbound Highway 30, especially west of 141 tonight, as drivers use that as an alternate. 44 westbound, still a slow go, approaching 270 out through 141. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You just have such a great team that is awaiting you at the 3 location of Michael's Flooring Outlet. Mike and his team have a lot of experience. They have a lot of products. Sometimes, you walk into that Old Town St. Peter's store and you see product after product, hard flooring, soft flooring. It's a big store. So is the one in Darien Prairie and in West County on Olive. But outside of all the products that they have on display, they have experts that can help you, and they can put you in the right situation for your lifestyle. Look, they're going to offer you the most advanced technology in flooring, waterproof, pet-proof, easy to clean, depending on your lifestyle, price point. All those things matter. You can take some samples home. You can order from the website too. And I will say the website really has everything. I love the inspiration tab because not only can you upload a picture and visualize the room with new flooring, but they also kind of let you look at their galleries. And the galleries they're almost endless because there's soft flooring. Obviously, there's carpet, but there's, really, really good flooring that looks like wood that doesn't warp or stain or, scratch like wood. And that's where you get into the technology with the pets and the kids and all stuff like that. They're off on Sundays. They're open every other day of the week. The website, igotfloor.com, Michael's Flooring Outlet.
How you can lower your chances of having your taxes hacked this year. I'm Ginny Coselda with your Fox Business Tax Tip. Filing early can help to protect your tax return from tax hackers. Adam Levin, founder of Cyber Scout, says the IRS can provide you an IP PIN.
You should open an account with the IRS at irs.gov. You should ask for a PIN number. Everyone now is entitled to get a PIN number. In the old days, it was only if you were a victim or a suspected victim of identity theft.
Levin says use a secured site to send documents. The IRS is now working with states and tax preparation organizations to protect you. Ginny Coselda, Fox News.
Game day comfort steps up to the plate Saturday, April 11th, when the Cardinals face the Boston Red Sox downtown. That night, fans can score a Cardinals dugout hoodie presented by Mercy, built for cool nights, late innings, and early season baseball. It's a classic, easy-to-wear layer you'll reach for all year long. Available in medium or extra large while supplies last. Don't miss this spring matchup. Get tickets and details at cardinals.com/promotions.
Every Sunday home game is a Kids Sunday at Busch Stadium. From Team Fred Birding games to a kid-friendly DJ, ice cream, and family-favorite activities. Sundays are built for young fans. Plus, select Sundays feature kids run the bases after the game. It's a day made for smiles, memories, and Cardinals baseball together. Make Sundays your family tradition at Busch Stadium. Tickets and details at cardinals.com/KidsSunday.
There's no better way to upgrade your backyard backyard than by calling my friends at Chesterfield Fence and Deck Company. Mark Cox here, locally owned and operated for 58 years now, and it is a sign you have the very best because they're so proud of what they do. They offer fences, of course, and decks, and sunrooms, and screen rooms, and patios, retaining walls, and so much more. Chesterfield Fence and Deck takes so much pride in what they do because they've done it for so many people. When they come over to your house, they'll give you a free estimate, no obligation, free project design. They'll take out their digital photo gallery of completed projects and let you see what other people are doing, and then you can make it your own. When they do their work, they give you a 5-year labor warranty and a comprehensive material warranty, and they're highly rated with the Better Business Bureau, of course. Reach out to them today. Tell them you heard about it from Mark Cox. You're going to get 48 months interest-free financing on your next project. Go to ChesterfieldFence.com.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
5:35. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Consistently right.
It's a ritual.
97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
Well, I love the game of golf. I'm not very good at the game of golf. I do love playing. I love beautiful golf courses. I love great championships. I love the Masters, which is coming up here very, very quickly. But we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the golf world. And unfortunately, Tiger Woods has fallen into the bad and the ugly part. But I want to start with the good. And Dan Reardon, our golf expert, no relation, is here with me. Dan, I talked at the open of the show. What a sports weekend. You know, Illinois going to the Final Four, that Duke Connecticut finish. You know, we had a lot of fun baseball. And this Gary Woodland story, coming back from brain surgery and PTSD, winning by 5 shots in Houston yesterday. Let's focus on that.
The last 10 holes on Friday, I teed off on 9, and some people behind the ropes got close to me, and I got extremely hypervigilant. And I'll tell you this, if it wasn't for tour security and my security, Zach, this week, there's no way I'm sitting here right now. I was a wreck the last 10 holes of that day. I got into scoring. Zach got close to me. Tour security was visual, so I saw them, so it calmed me down. I got in scoring. I bawled my eyes out. I reset and was able to come back out and take care of stuff after. But coming out, talking and asking for help, I didn't do that last year. I didn't do that early this year. And if I wouldn't ask tour security, they wouldn't have been there for me like that. And I'm extremely thankful for them. But I'm in a fight, and I'm able, with the love and support I have around me, I have hope.
And that was a lengthy soundbite, but I wanted to play it because I can relate to that because, and those people who have battled like I have with anxiety, depression, Gary, with, PTSD that has led to some anxiety. That was an incredible soundbite, just listening to him. He was literally crying in the middle of the fairway. He was so emotionally distraught. And, the torture that guy's been through, and then to win this tournament, Dan, it really is remarkable.
And he didn't know at the time he did that press conference, which I'm sure would have brought him to tears again, because in the middle of his final round, he got I think it was a Twitter post or an X post from Amy Bockerstadt, the developmentally challenged girl that he dealt with back at the Phoenix Open several years ago.
I remember this, yes.
And she sent him a text, or she sent him a message saying, "You got this." And I'm sure he eventually got that, and that probably broke him down as well. He's got a great support team. He doesn't hesitate to mention them, from the caddy to the family to the tour staff. And it is a story that is one of the best, most heartwarming stories we've seen. And even to the point of the two players in his group on the final hole stepped aside, started applauding, and let him go up onto the green and receive the recognition that he deserved.
Yeah, Minwoo Lee and Hugard, they say they made up their mind before walking down the 18th. They backed off. They knew he was going to get the reception that he did, and it just gave me chills. It was a really, really cool moment there to see that, and he wins the Texas Children's Houston Open. And I can't believe I'd forgotten about that moment that you described with that little girl, because that was really viral. I remember talking about that on the air for sure.
He's a people person. That's the thing about Gary Woodland. He's gone through a lot of turmoil in his career on the PGA Tour, just trying to be a PGA Tour player. But he's had these moments, and he really is genuine when he deals with people.
I like him despite being a KU guy. He went to KU, and I like him. How about that? All right, let's talk about the bad and the ugly, because it's just so disappointing with Tiger. Now, it wasn't alcohol. I don't even know if we know a whole lot more about what really happened, but he could have killed himself. He could have killed other people. It's certainly not a good look for where he is in his life and career right now. And, this is problematic, I would say. It's not something we hero worship Tiger Woods. We love the guy, but obviously there's issues here.
And I would say he damaged his brand, and I'm sure that's going to be the case. He has a very prestigious role with the PGA Tour right now, plotting the future of this new tour that Brian Roloff is. But, something disturbing is that he had that accident wearing a blue polo, which is part of his Sunday Red line of clothing. That line of that shirt sold out over the weekend. You cannot buy it anyplace because everybody snapped up his brand. So I don't know what this does to Tiger.
Goodness.
I would think this would hurt him, but I don't know what this does to Tiger.
Wow. Well, I guess some of it depends on what happens here in the aftermath and punishment. But thank goodness that that he wasn't killed, that the the trucker wasn't killed, because if you see that car sitting on its side, or the Land Rover, but those cars, you must say, they're built safely because he crawled out of the other side. What happens between now and next week with the Masters? You have the Valero Texas Open. Are a lot of players going to sit that out this weekend or not, Dan?
Most notably, you'll see that Scotty Scheffler will not be playing again this weekend, so he's going to go in sort of cold in terms of preparation. But you'll get a good field, but not a great field for that. And the reason Scheffler is not playing is that his wife is expecting their second child. There is some possibility that she could deliver at the time of the Masters. That's already been talked about. We went through that with Phil Mickelson several decades ago. But the Valero will get Spieth will be there, and I think Spieth is somewhat legitimate this year in terms of that. But don't expect a great field for that tournament as well.
And Dan, you will be going to your 39th Masters next week, right?
It'll be my 39th. I'm hoping to get to 40, which is a magic number for people covering the Masters. I'm hoping to get through TSA to get to the Masters, quite honestly.
Well, you know what? That's maybe not the worst point, but hopefully things will be settled. We're gonna have you on next week when you're heading down there. We're gonna preview. I'm gonna get my friend Brian Katrick from PGA Tour Radio to come on too, because Dan, last year, I don't know if you remember this, but when I was in Chicago that weekend and we left, even though I didn't want to, it was my birthday, we left to come home. So I was forced to watch some of the Masters on my iPad when Becky was driving, but I was also listening to it on PGA Tour Radio. And listening to golf on the radio is going to seem very odd and strange to the majority of people that are listening, especially if you're not a fan of golf. But their calls and the way that they execute the calls, they keep it so exciting. So Katrick's really great, and we became friends a couple years ago, so we're going to cover the Masters from a couple of different perspectives next week. But you got to be excited about getting down there again.
Oh, I always say the same thing. It's a privilege as far as I'm concerned to cover the Masters. The fact that I'm doing this for the 39th time is amazing to me, but nonetheless, I'll have the same feeling. And my responsibility is to people like you and listeners out there to try to tell you something that you're not already hearing from everybody else.
Yeah, and you did that even earlier in this segment, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Dan, and we'll talk next week, okay?
Enjoyed it, Mark.
All right, that's awesome. Yeah, the whole, here's what happened, we didn't even play this, I don't think, on Friday because the story was occurring, but this is what the police said.
Our DUI investigators came to the scene here, and Mr. Woods did exemplify signs of impairment. They did several tests on him. Of course, he did explain the injuries and the surgeries that he had. We did take that into account, but they did do some in-depth roadside tests. And when it was determined he was placed under arrest.
Yeah, so he didn't, consent. Again, he wasn't under the influence of alcohol,
Correct.
which is why he did the breathalyzer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he would not consent to anything else as far as the test. That was interesting. You weren't in here. Dan kind of drew the correlation of the agent, the sports agent that Tiger has that's kind of guiding him through all this. The same dude that is Gary Woodland's agent. So think about the juxtaposition.
Oh,
First of all, I was juxtaposing those stories, but think about that. The same agent is balancing both those guys at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, we are looking better on the Illinois side. Just some moderate volume eastbound 64 at 157. And we look good westbound 6440. It's just a little slow at Clayton Skinker. It's eastbound that's slowing, approaching 170 through Big Bend. Now 70 westbound looks great out of downtown. We still have a jam on 44. It's not bad. It's a little bit slow right just west of 270 and at 141, but it's jammed in the Pacific area. There was an accident reported before you get to Gray Summit, and that has caused a delay. Yeah, other than that, we look okay this afternoon. This report is brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Midwest winters take a real toll on your garage door, and they can come and perform their 26-point tune-up on your garage door and opener. One price for up to 3 garage doors and openers. Schedule online, overheaddoorstlewis.com. That's traffic, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I want to talk about the Gelman team. Mark and Neil Gelman here of eXp Realty, and these guys keep it real. I think I do that on my radio show. I love Mark and Neil. They are friends. I've known them for a long time, but they shoot straight with you, and they're so knowledgeable, which is one of the reasons we have them on the air talking about real estate and the market. And what they'll tell you right now is, homes are going for above asking price if you market them in the correct way, and you may have to make some decisions that they offer to you in suggestion form that you might not be completely happy with, but they're trying to sell your home and get you top dollar. Now, you have options. If you want to, sell on your own terms, you want an instant cash offer, they can do that. You can skip the showings, open houses, and all the stress. That means no repairs, renovations, or upgrades. You don't even have to clean it. They'll look at it. They'll make you an offer. If you want to crank up the marketing, which most people do, they can absolutely knock that out of the park because no one knows St. Louis, St. Charles, and Northern Jeffco better than the Gelman team. So you might be sitting on a gold mine and you don't even know it. That's why they have a great tool on their website. If you go to thegelmanteam.com, you can find out how much your home is really worth for free. It's just an easy tool. You type in your address, and they kick that price right back to you. Check out the Gelmans with eXp Realty today, 314-336-1991, thegelmanteam.com. Certain restrictions apply.
Jimmy Fallon in the house, and I cannot wait to see you finally, April 11th. Although we're not calling it a redo, because we never did the thing in the first place. You can't have a sequel if you don't have an original. Get your tickets at 971talk.com/events.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stiefel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
I'm Dr. Nick Barnes at Health From Within Family Chiropractic in Rock Hill. At Health From Within, our mission is to transform the way you manage your health by bringing you the truth about health and healing. We use proven techniques to remove interference in the nervous system and maximize health naturally, without drugs or surgery. Connect with me at healthfromwithinstl.com and join me for Maximize Living on this station every Sunday at 8 a.m. or download the Maximize Living podcast, healthfromwithinstl.com.
From Fox and Friends, The Brian Kilmeade Show, and One Nation.
This is not going to be a show that you expect.
An entertaining, inspiring night that brings history to life.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Kilmeade!
Brian Kilmeade, Uniting the States Tour.
Incredible. I learned so much.
I love Brian.
Because we do watch him all the time.
Saturday, November 21st, The Factory. Get tickets now at thefactorystl.com. Brian Kilmeade.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
We're not gonna take it.
Is that
Human rights are sacred.
it's a No Kings rally.
We're not gonna take it anymore.
Sing it with us. Human rights.
Oh, my God. All of the old white people of America, most of them live in this area in Webster Groves and Kirkwood, and they went to the No Kings rallies, and they made fools out of themselves over the weekend. You know who was there with them? Jane Fonda, who's 150 years old now.
What is happening now is the result of far deeper issues that have been simmering across this country for a long time. Divisive rhetoric, escalating tensions, fear-mongering. We have to address the root causes of these issues and stop this violence where it came from.
Okay, first of all, I'm not even sure what she's talking about right now. Is she talking about the war? Is she talking about something else?
Don't know.
Here's John Lithgow. He decided to read a poem.
I wish I was marching today for No Kings with all of you, but I'll be acting in a Broadway matinee, so I had to do something. I figured I would recite a poem that I wrote about 6 years ago in a book I released back then called Trumpty Dumpty Wanted a Crown. Trumpty Dumpty wanted a crown to make certain he never would have to step down.
Oh, God, that's so funny. They've just beclowned themselves. The worst is De Niro.
Look at the power of the No Kings national uprising. Afraid of Trump? Please. No, they should be more afraid of us.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Because we still believe in the core American values of justice, equality, decency, and kindness. Because we're going from the streets to the ballot box, and because we all deserve a country with no kings, no Trump.
Oh, my God. But by the way, on the violence and all that and the behavior, was that spitting on ICE agents and throwing things at them and throwing frozen water bottles at their cars? I was a little confused on just the description that Robert was offering of the American people in his side, which was completely inaccurate.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
As good as that audio was, I have better, ladies and gentlemen, because up in Canada over the weekend, the Democratic Party of Canada, like the Socialist Party up there, which is the same thing as the Democratic Party, they decided to have, it was their convention, and they were giving speaking spots to people, but you got a better speaking spot, like you drew cards, right? If you are a person of color, if you're gay, if you're lesbian, if you're transgender, you hit the freaking, lottery, right? So they were rating when you would be able to speak at this event based on your gender equity cards, right?
There's a point of privilege on microphone 1, then we'll go to microphone 3. Go ahead, delegate.
Yes.
Hello, I was standing here with my gender equity card before you called on the previous speaker. That's my point of privilege.
Like, this is real. This is not a bit. This is not like the Babylon Bee or the Onion or SNL. It wouldn't be SNL because they're funny. This really happened.
I will explain the speaking order, which is fixed, that I cannot amend, which is the pro-con rotation. You can move yourself up a line that you're standing in.
I am pro, and I was...
We went...
You went pro, con...
We went pro, and my plan was to go con. The speaker at con mic 3 also has a speaking card.
Yesterday, this card was used in an inappropriate manner. And while I understand in Ontario, we know this is equity, even if that, this was also used inappropriately in terms of gender. I want everyone to be mindful that these cards for individuals like myself who identify as a Black woman have no value outside of this space.
Yeah, I don't even know what she meant. They have no value anywhere. You're making fools out of yourselves, and you think that you're doing the smart thing. I mean, that is just gold. I can't tell you how appreciative I am of the idiots up in Canada who do this, and they do it in this country too. I mean, Democrats, oh my God, let me see if I can address the same Democrats in the audience right now. These are your people, ladies and gentlemen. They're your people. Like the No Kings wackos too. Listen to Jennings. He nailed it here. You know who the No Kings protesters are? Here we go.
These No Kings rallies actually look pretty representative to me of the Democratic coalition. I saw people flying the hammer and sickle in New York City. I saw Hezbollah flags. I saw Hamas flags. I saw Palestinian flags. I saw trans signs. I see weirdo liberal boomers out there. This is pretty representative of the Democratic coalition, and that's who funds it as well, by the way. And so I think if America looks at this and says, what do the two parties stand for? They got it at the No Kings rally.
No, I think if you Americans were out there, Republicans,
You like hammer and sickle? You like hammer and sickle flags?
That's not what that No King stood for.
They had a bunch
you know
of them.
that, and that is
They come from somewhere.
All right, No Kings rally? I did. I went to 6, and I'll tell you, there's so much excitement. 6? There's so much energy. Yeah,
that's a lot of free speech.
I'll get you a T-shirt. You should come.
That's a lot of free speech for a country with a king.
That's a lot of free speech.
He went to 6 No Kings rallies. Man, I only hit 3 over the weekend, so I feel like I deprived myself.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we are looking better on the roads. They've even just cleared the accident on westbound 44 past Pacific. All lanes are now open, and things will unwind through there. Southbound 55 in good shape. 6440 looks good out of downtown. A little slow out at Prospect. 70 looks good. We're quiet through North County, and we look good on the bridges downtown. But eastbound 64 on the Illinois side, little slow east of 157 due to road work. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Simply the finest when it comes to mirror glass and shower doors. And they have the largest, most beautiful showroom in all of St. Louis right there in Chesterfield Valley. There you'll see why they say creativity unlimited, quality unsurpassed. This is 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, temporarily we were KZK, but that's okay. She's got many duties, wears many hats. Let's talk about ThrottleNet. Tomorrow night we'll have George Rosenthal from ThrottleNet do Tech Talk Tuesdays, which he comes up with amazing topics. I have a few from the weekend as well. But I want to tell you what his company can do for you if you're a business owner here in St. Louis. They can help you navigate technology. They've been doing this for over 25 years, focusing on security strategy and keeping companies productive. Because as George will tell you, and we repeat this all the time, cyber threats are not just a big company problem. If you're a smaller company, you could be targeted as well. No client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom because their cybersecurity works. And they're going to offer you a free baseline test because they can't figure out, and you can't figure out, what your next steps are if you don't take the first step. And this is a great first step. They're your IT everything. They don't just fix problems. They provide full IT strategy, security, and IT support. So visit throttlenet.com/971 for your free baseline IT security audit. Throttlenet.com/971 and join us tomorrow night for Tech Talk Tuesdays.
A lot of people are getting their air conditioners tuned up and ready to go for the summer, and we're getting a lot of calls of people saying they want